The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. This is Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for the archive. But we break on command 'cause women rule the world. Buckle up, space travelers. Let the countdown begin.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time to go for a ride with host Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, September 8th, Sunday, September 9th, for those of you on the East Coast and beyond. And this is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a rockin' week, an awesome day, and an even better evening. I am your host, TessaTNT, and I am live tonight broadcasting from beautiful Bayfield, Colorado. We are thousands strong nightly across the world on Spaced Out Radio Network, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, as well as Deep Talk Radio, which you can find at deeptalkradio.com. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. Tonight I have a treat for all you guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know Neil Gaur. Neil Gaur is the founder of Portal To Ascension, an event production company for all things consciousness. Through their online Awakening University, live workshops, retreats, and conferences, Portal to Ascension is providing full-spectrum awareness to empower humanity to reclaim their sovereignty and shift into a higher octave of existence. Neil and the Portal to Ascension team pioneers information on UFO Disclosure and ET Civilizations, ancient civilizations and true world history, and the evolution of consciousness/ascension. In October 2018, the 5th through the 7th to be precise, Portal to Ascension is holding their annual conference in Irvine, California, that is designed to be a celebration of unity and conscious awareness. Hey Neil, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being on tonight.
Hi Tessa, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the show and to hear about your speakers and all of their amazing knowledge that they got going on. Mm-hmm. So Neil, can you tell us about Portal to Ascension, who you are, and the history behind it all?
Yeah, sure. So Portal to Ascension really came about in around 2006, but originally it was actually a Facebook group. How it started was that when I was in high school, when I was being raised, I was actually raised as a Hindu, but I was raised as Hindu, but I never really truly believed any of these rites and rituals. I just did whatever my parents told me to do. And when I was graduating high school, when I was 18, I was really questioning a lot, and I was following the rites and rituals, but I had no depth of understanding of consciousness, reality, religion, spirituality, none of that. I stumbled on a few videos from age 19 to 21 when I was in college in California, and these videos were information on the Sumerian tablets of creation, extraterrestrial races, vibration and frequency, quantum physics, and it was providing me with insight on not only ancient civilizations and texts that predated all of like known religious texts, but also with scientific evidence that was backed by scriptures on vibration and frequencies and how everything is made out of basically energy. This kind of brought me back to Hinduism, because within Hinduism, as you probably know, a lot of people in the spiritual community follow Hindu traditional ways because of the awareness within those scriptures. But Hinduism talks about vibration and frequency all the time, whether it's meditation, yoga, enlightenment. The whole entire concept of raising your frequency is to achieve a state of enlightenment where you can tap into a different level of consciousness and have a more broader perspective on your purpose on Earth and in the universe. So while I was discovering this, I was connecting with people online for a good 5 to 6 years. I went through hardcore conspiracies. I was really scared for a long time. But in 2006, I created a Facebook group called 2012 Consciousness, Mind Evolution, and Presence. And the whole idea for this was really to attract people that were into those concepts. The concept of 2012, the concept of evolution of consciousness, mind evolution, spirituality. All of a sudden, thousands of people started joining the group. Tens of thousands of people started joining the group. I created a chapter for UK, for New York, for Canada, California, Portland, Seattle, major hubs everywhere where people were really gathering around the topics that we were discussing. From 2006 to 2008, the group name kept changing, and until 2008 when I had a dream to change the name to Portal to Ascension. So in 2008, Portal to Ascension was truly born, and we began doing small meditation events, just like little sound healing events, and within a couple of years went to all-day conferences on topics such as ancient aliens. We worked with many people from the Ancient Aliens show back in 2008. We would go on tours, global tours, and it's been growing ever since then. So for the last 3 years, we've been online doing a lot of online events, almost every other week, where we have an online university, but then we also have these conferences. So we've now become a full-on event production company for consciousness, whether it's booking a retreat for a conscious presenter and then handling all the logistics and they just jump in on board and just show up to the event, or whether it's creating an online conference or a workshop or a conference like the one that we're doing in October. So we're a resource for conscious presenters and kind of a resource that they didn't even know. We're really like an industry for a new kind of sacred economics that is now emerging.
That's awesome, and it's so cool how you came across all this, and like you were saying, the conspiracies and how they just freak us out about the world around us, but then you find that peace within Ascension and all these other, like, you know, the history of the world and so many different things. I can't even think of them all right now. But what sort of info have you guys pioneered through Portals of Ascension or to Ascension?
So we're a one-stop shop for consciousness, meaning every aspect of awareness that can empower humanity to shift into a higher octave of existence, a higher vibratory state, or just create a new reality based on harmony and unity, we basically put on our platform, whether it's conscious nutrition, you know, like really being conscious about nutrition and dissecting the different supplements we can use and so forth, and whether it's ancient civilizations and true world history, painting the real timeline of our history, because we've been lied to. Our history has been written and rewritten and written again by the victors. So we do that, and then UFO disclosure, extraterrestrial awareness, sacred sexuality, sound healing, the science of ascension, whatever you can name within this conscious community, we create a webinars for. We create all-day conferences on sacred geometry as well. So the three components within all of that, like if you were to break it down to three, it would be UFO disclosure and extraterrestrial awareness. UFO disclosure being the government component of it all. Many of the whistleblowers that, for example, Stephen Greer and Grant Cameron, are two of the biggest pioneers in disclosing things on the governmental, political cabal kind of level. They bring their information out on our platform before it goes anywhere in the world. So a lot of these whistleblowers and researchers come to our platform to either do a free webinar if it's something that's extremely important, like something going on in disclosure that we need to drop really quick, or whether it's a paid workshop on these topics. We have that going on there. So UFO disclosure, really disclosing the fact that extraterrestrials exist, past, present, and future, the ancient connection to extraterrestrials, the present fact that they're existing, live with us right now, and are visiting us right now, and the future implications of what a post-disclosure world is. We delve into all aspects of that and work with everybody across the board. The second component would really be true world history and ancient civilizations. Number one topic, and what we're really into, is the history of our planet, and even back into the galactic history, and really informing the public about it, especially the advanced civilizations that existed on this planet before us that were more advanced than us, and we have the lack of awareness that there were more advanced civilizations before us. Therefore, we have the arrogance of thinking we're the most advanced people that have ever existed on the planet. Mm-hmm. So there's mad evidence to support the fact that that is not the case, and we are working with all the biggest archaeologists and alternative physicists in the world to create webinars, retreats, tours, all types of ways in order to rewrite our history. And then the third thing would be the evolution of consciousness, or ascension. So all other, basically, whether it's an angel workshop, whether it's practical tools to empower yourself and fix your relationship, all those things are kind of put in the evolution of consciousness category, where that's the whole end game of it all. Everything that we really discuss and bring forward has to kind of funnel into assisting us in evolving our consciousness.
So Jade in the chat room was curious, where do you get your funding for this?
So we're 100% self-funded, and I'll tell you a little story about how it worked. So when we first started doing these events in 2012, when we had two huge conferences, our first two conferences was in November 2012 and March 2013. The first one was called Cosmic Reunion, which was just all extraterrestrials, consciousness stuff, same as this one we're doing, but back when we first started. And then we did Cosmic Reunion 4th Density. The first one did well financially. The second one did so poorly that my wife and I had to put in on notice at our apartment complex, and we couldn't even afford our rent. We became homeless for a good 3 to 4 months, where we were literally touring, doing channeling events with an extraterrestrial channeling tour with sound healing from city to city to pay for our bills to even do any of this. Over 10 years of this happening, and me basically getting a full-time job, trying to funnel money back into this business, growing, finally becoming a full legitimate business, connecting with affiliates. I created an entire platform where every single aspect of what we have online has been created by us, whether it's the event that you purchase, the order form. So the way we get the funds now, and what it's been for 10 years, is basically 10 years of doing these little events where we're just at the door collecting $5 for a sound healing event, all the way to creating huge conferences, to creating tours, and then creating webinars. The ticket sales that we get from all these events that we do, 50% of all of our ticket sales go back to the speaker that we're working with. So we, like, for example, Michael Tellinger, he's one of the big speakers we work with. We create almost every one of his events. Actually, all the events in the U.S. that he ever does, we're doing a 20-city tour with him next year. Every single event in the U.S. we create. So it's a lot of events. And then we would give the speaker the percentage, and then we would keep our percentage, and that goes to operations, and then also paying. We have editors, we have people all over the world. So it's been 10 years of basically creating this organization, and now this year we're really at the stage where we're a full-on legitimate company, now just hiring people and bringing more people onto the staff.
That's awesome. And I just have to say, you guys have a gorgeous setting for this conference coming up. Can you give us more details on the Portal to Ascension conference?
Yes. So this conference, as I said earlier, for the last 4 years, we've been 100% online. And what happened was 4 years ago, I wanted to quit Portal to Ascension. And I've had, like, in the last 10 years, there's been like at least 5 or 6 times where I wanted to quit everything. Reason why I wanted to quit is because, like, it's so much work just to put all these events on, and to not make money for it when you're doing this full time and you need to live, like, you just need to survive, really was taking a toll on me. So 4 years ago, I was like, I got to go back to school. I got to use my degree and go to a regular job and just have a career, settle down just like my parents want. And then at that moment, some angel investor came to me, and my friend spoke to me and said, why don't you rethink everything out? So 4 years ago, we went 100% online. And the reason we went online was that there was no overhead cost to do these events. So now the Portal to Ascension conference is, after 4 years of being almost 100% online, we're now coming back to do live events again. So not only is this event our largest scale production out of any event we've ever done, but it's also around the 1,000th event production from all of our event productions in the last 10 years. So it's like we're putting everything we are, and all aspects of consciousness expansion are going to be expressed there, whether it's like letting you know about what's going on behind the closed doors in the government to, for example, we're going to have an ex-FBI agent there who was in charge of the paranormal files, John D'Souza, and he's actually the one that Mulder from the X-Files and the whole X-Files show was actually made after. And so we're going to have information like that, but then we'll also have like an angel workshop. So this event is exactly what it sounds like. It's a portal to ascension, every single aspect of awareness. Plus, there's going to be a lot of sound healing there. So not only is it a conference where you're listening and watching the presenters, we're trying to create an experience, meaning that when you funnel out of the conference room and you go into the vendor lounge, we'll have live music playing all the time. We'll have sound healings in between the events, and we'll have kind of like a networking vibe there. So we're really trying to create community with this event too. And it's going to be in Irvine, California in October 5th, 6th, and 7th. And seriously, it's like the best time of the year really in California. 75 to 80 degree weather, nice breeze, 10 minutes from the beach. And the amount of consciousness that's going to be in that little area right there in those 3 days is going to be epic.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'm really excited for you guys. It's going to be an epic event, and I already spent my funds to go out to the UFO conference in San Francisco, California earlier this year, so hopefully you guys have one closer to Colorado. I'd love to attend one of those.
Yeah. Eventually, we want to do some stuff in Boulder. Our goal really is to not only have our online university going all the time and these events just running, but also have conferences worldwide happening. So we're at the beginning phases of our live events, but I see within the next 2 to 3 years we're probably going to be really more established in that and creating more events. Because it's pretty exciting. Like, there's a lot of these conferences popping up everywhere. And the fact that we're so well organized, because, like, if you look at other type of organizations or movements that are having this kind of, like, conferences worldwide, there's not that many. And even if they are, like, the religious ones are so compartmentalized because they're really competing against each other. So it's really kind of interesting to see that there's, like, a lot of UFO events popping up, conscious events coming up. It's just a sign of the times.
So Alyssa in the chat room was asking, can you explain the Angel Conference?
So I'm not sure what she means by Angel Conference, but I said Angel Workshop at the conference. That's probably what she's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Angel Workshop is it's a 45-minute workshop that's going to take place on Friday with Joan of Angels. She's actually my wife and my like one of our best friends, if not like our best friend, that is really close to our heart. And she basically channels angels and receives messages for people. And she's super, super legit. And she also channels, she's an artist, a painter. She channels the messages and receives visions of the angels in different types of scenarios, and she creates paintings on them. And a lot of people purchase her paintings and they have the energetic imprint of that angel there. And what she's going to be doing is she's an extremely amazing self-empowerment person, intuitive. So she's going to be kind of doing an intuitive session for 45 minutes where not only is she going to be providing insightful information about connecting to your guides and your angels, but also tapping into the collective vibration of everybody's guides and channeling a message for us.
Yeah, they have this whole expo going on out here in Durango, and a friend of mine from Four Corners Paranormal Investigations went in, and she got her aura photo done, and what we were just talking about reminded me of that, because in her aura photo, behind her, you can see this angel standing behind her, and it's pretty awesome. I was like, holy shnikes, cool. What is that? I've never seen a picture like that, but it was pretty epic.
That is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to know when you have angels, and I'm sure we all do to a certain degree or another, but to see it in a picture, just reconfirms that.
Right, exactly. And for me, like, even though I'm into all this stuff, I'm a skeptic at heart. It takes a lot for me to really, like, to believe in things at times. And when it comes to angel readings and tarot, I'm really kind of like, I use my discernment with the individuals that I have do that. And Joan, I have allowed her, well, she's actually done a lot of readings for me, and they've been so on point, and that's why I really wanted to have her here, because we really need that intuitive information. So not only are we going to have a lot of information, like actual factual information at the conference, whether it's teaching us about ancient history, UFOs, or the issues that have been at hand, but we need to have that balance as well, where we're going to be bringing in the experiential workshops. So Joan of Angels, her workshop is really an experiential one, brings in the divine feminine.
Indeed. So Neil, can you tell us more about your history and experiences that led up to this?
Yeah. Well, like I was saying earlier, it was really, truly, when I was younger, like, I always felt out of place and disconnected. I just, like, there was something off, and when I was doing whatever my mom told me to do, I used to call myself an atheist Hindu, because I just didn't believe in anything. And the information that I really kind of, because I told the story already, but I'll just choose, like, the specific time of my awakening. When I was 18, 19, in 2000, 2001, the three individuals that I stumbled upon their videos was Nassim Haramein, Jim Self, and William Henry. So those three individuals, Jim Self has something called the simultaneous time, and the Merkaba does a lot of awareness on sacred geometry and teaches how our light body, our aura, is actually in a Merkaba shape, which is the star tetrahedron, like the Star of David, and the electrons basically create a Merkaba around our body. And if you could rotate your Merkaba at 3/4 the speed of light, so you go into deep meditation, you rotate it at 3/4 the speed of light, you're able to exist in simultaneous time. When you're in simultaneous time, you can transcend from linearity, and you're able to see all time as one instance, and then you're able to go in and make some changes. So when I was like 18, 19, started watching like 20-hour videos of him, like nonstop, back to back. And then Nassim Haramein, he is a physicist. He doesn't like to be called a quantum physicist, even though he deals with the quantum world. But he is a physicist that is proving through science and mathematics that we're all interconnecting in one. He's all into this esoterics. And then the last person was William Henry, Ancient Civilizations. So through that, and then Jordan Maxwell was the last person who teaches about the occult. Literally, those individuals right there that I just said have such a full, wide range of information when it comes to really understanding the ascension that led me down basically the rabbit hole of what I was getting into. But after I got into that information, when I was like 21, I started getting deep into the conspiracies. I started learning about the Illuminati, the different bloodlines, and that actually stemmed out of my understanding from the Anunnaki. When I read the story about the Anunnaki and how there were two tiers of gods, the Anunnaki weren't the only gods from Nibiru. There were one called the Igigi and one called the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were the ones that stayed in the heavens. The Igigis were technically the slave drivers that existed on Earth. And when I started hearing that story and I followed it, I saw that the bloodline of the Igigi were the first Masonic bloodline. That was the bloodline that went through the pharaohs, Rome, to the royal families, and created the first Illuminati. and it was like a bloodline of these extraterrestrial races. And that led me down a lot of understanding of conspiracies, secret societies, their rituals. So I was in fear for like 2003 to 2007 to even 2008. I was like really, really like trying to tell people that we're screwed over and that they're after us. And I was like kind of taking it to overboard. Even when the swine flu came out, I think in 2006, I was listening to Alex Jones back then too, because I was really into the fear, and Alex Jones puts out a lot of fear. So back then, when I was listening to Alex Jones, 3 months before the swine flu came out, Alex Jones said had this guy on his radio station that was a truck driver driving from Mexico to New York, and he said, "Hey, I got this virus in my car." In my truck that the government's employed me to take to New York from Mexico, and there's going to be a flu in the 3 months, and I'm just letting you know it's an engineered flu that they're trying to use for depopulation. 3 months later, this thing happens. So I'm freaking out. I'm literally I literally purchased a swine flu kit, and I got like a gas mask in order to protect myself. This is in like 2006. So that's how much I was into conspiracies, but it was actually real. There's a lot of facts backed on that. It didn't go the way that they wanted to go. Like, it was all real and all that stuff, but I was really just focusing on that a lot. So that, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that was a really freaky point in time. I remember there was this church camp about 10 miles up the road from us, and they had a breakout there of swine flu, and so they had people that had to stay there until it was all cleared up. And I was bartending up at Virginia's in Vallecito, and every time I drive by there, I'd hold my breath, and I don't even think that really helped, but I'm just like, I don't want to get this, and I don't know what it is or if I'll survive it. But it's just when they do that and they attack your health, and like you're saying, that population control, it's just a really scary, freaky thing to think about.
Right. And honestly, like, we'll talk about that for 1 second. The only way that H1N1 or the swine flu, that specific virus, could have been created was if a bird from Mexico, because they tracked it and all the different DNA that was involved in it, a bird from Mexico went to China, impregnated a pig, and then that pig came back to New York, and then got someone sick. That was the only way that combination could have actually occurred, and it was because it was completely engineered. And not only did they say when it first came out that it started in Mexico, but somebody took it to Maryland, took it to New York, but this guy that called 3 months earlier was coming from Mexico, driving to New York with the virus. So it was all like too much for me. So that took me down hardcore conspiracies once again. And then in 2008, when I met my first set of soul family, I'll say, because some of them I'm still good friends with, but my soul family at that point, where we're at open mic reciting poetry, and there's artists and comedians, and that was what we were doing a lot. I was there, and I had one of my friends at the time was singing this song called My Name Is Love, and I was sitting there with my friend listening to it. I was at a really down in life about things, and then I realized, like, even though I'm into consciousness, extraterrestrials, vibration, frequency, the root of all religions, sacred geometry, all positive things. Even though I'm into it, I'm like super into fear and really scared for my life. Like, what's the issue here? So in that moment, I realized that the missing link was love. I didn't realize, like, it was all love, it was all good. And from that moment onwards, I shifted from thinking that we are being lied and controlled to manipulated, to realizing that this is exactly how it was meant to be, that we chose to experience this stuff, and shifted from hating and being angry at the individuals that oppressed us, but more compassionate towards them. And so now, not only do we we literally expose the deepest and darkest secrets from these elite on our platform, like hardcore. We expose all these false flags, but none of it is with the essence of fear that, oh my God, we're gonna be we're completely screwed because of this. It's all under the energy of the bigger picture of we're just providing information, but ultimately it's all good. Like, this is meant to be. This is happening. These things are these institutions and these systems are on their way out. So all we're doing now is providing information and then funneling people to the spirituality. So that's why we exist. We exist to provide information and then funnel people into the truth of their spiritual essence.
Well, we got a couple questions here from our chat rooms. Let me go back to this one. I always take a snapshot of it so I don't have to go all the way through all of these comments. But here BTO is asking, is there a difference between ascension, external, hierarchical, collective, and inscension, internal, unified? If so, which is more important, and or are both important? Are you there?
Yeah, can you read the first part of what ascension is once more?
Yes. He was asking, is there a difference between ascension as far as external /
Yes.
hierarchical / collective and ascension?
Okay, I understand the question now.
Okay.
All right, so those are just preference of words, ascension, ascension. Ultimately, I used to think that, well, a lot of people, especially before 2012, used to think that ascension was something that was going to happen in the future, that we're going to ascend, we're ascending, we're going to go somewhere. But the paradoxical nature of ascension is the only way that you can ascend is when you stop waiting for a future date. So the only way you can get to that date externally is if you don't even care that the date exists anyway. However, the only way that you can get to a point where you don't care that the date exists is by doing the inner work. So the ascension and ascension is synonymous. The external reality to the internal reality is synonymous. So when you're talking about ascension, it's a cool kind of way, a play of words to really show people what you mean about it. However, the ascension isn't about an external reality, no matter if an external reality manifests for it or not. We're ascending in every single moment. So ultimately what we need to do is forget the need to achieve this reality and achieve this level, and when we all start living more in the present moment, we will achieve ascension within and without.
Awesome. And we also have one from Jade in SOR Space Travelers, and she's wondering, going back to the bioengineering, does Neil think that Lyme bacteria is engineered?
What is it, Lyme bacteria?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't done any research on that. Do you want to? Let me see right now.
Yeah, it kind of takes me back to something my sister was telling me about this island where they were bioengineering all kinds of things through different bugs, and then they just kind of abandoned it and left all these things there on the island. But Lyme disease, I believe she was saying, was also bioengineered, but
oh, yes.
I'd
So,
have to...
yeah, I don't know specifically about that, but there's definitely a laundry list of engineered sicknesses, even some that you would never even think would be. So I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty creepy. And on a more humorous note, Adnome from the Spreaker chat room is asking, and he asks this every show, so please forgive me, but how many gnomes fit in Neil's pocket?
How many gnomes fit in my pocket? I would say I got deep pockets. I don't know, infinity.
Yeah.
I got black holes in my pockets. Gnomes just pop out of my pockets left, right, and center.
Yeah, it's like a portal in your pocket.
I'm the portal to the elemental kingdom. So gnomes, fairies, all types of stuff coming out.
Good answer. High five. It's always good to have a laugh, and I really enjoy it. A lot of people are like, did you really just ask that question? But it's good to laugh. It's like the best medicine.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, sure.
So I have so many questions, but I think before I get into those, do you want to go over all your epic speakers and their background and beliefs and what they'll be teaching?
Okay, let me pull up the website. So I'll just go down each of these speakers here and maybe spend 30 seconds to a minute on each of them. So
Okay.
The first individual I have here is Billy Carson. And Billy has a channel called Forbidden Knowledge. He creates mini documentaries on ancient history. He does a lot of awareness on Anunnaki. And he also has a channel on Gaia. He is kind of a social media viral person. He has a lot of followers on social media and is just a really cool person. So he's going to be doing a workshop on ancient aliens and the gods. That's Billy Carson, and he is live on Friday. Then we have Robert Schock. Robert Schock is a researcher on on ancient Egypt and ancient civilizations. He is one of the individuals that's assisted us in rewriting the timeline and history of ancient Egypt, especially in regards to the Sphinx. The Sphinx was actually in its heyday and being utilized when the constellation of Leo was directly above the Sphinx, and the Sphinx's face was not a human face, but it was the face of a lion. The last time that happened was around 12,600 BC, or around 13,000 years ago. So he's going to be providing he's a geologist, so this is like some mainstream information proving not only the esoteric scriptures, but also painting a new picture of our ancient history. That's Robert Schoch. And his presentation is The Cycles of Time, Rise and Fall of Civilization 12,000 years ago. Jason Quitt has something called the Crystal Sun, Ascension, and Forbidden Knowledge, and he, since a very young age, has been traveling to different dimensions from various types of beings have taken him to different dimensions. He's gone to astral realms, planets, and has a really fully encompassing picture of our purpose and the reason why we exist, and also has a lot of insightful information of different realities and dimensions and the makeup of that. Then we have Grant Cameron. So we have a lot of ufologists there and ancient history people, and they all have a different component. So Grant Cameron, he's known as the White House UFO researcher. He's the foremost researcher in the world in regards to the presidents, the White House, the U.S. government, and some about other governments' connection to extraterrestrials, UFOs, and the cover-up that's been happening, especially in the U.S. for the last 76 years. He's tracked all the different presidents and their correspondence with the UFO files. He's going to be doing a presentation called UFO Disclosure Timeline, Updates, and ET Consciousness. So he's getting now into really speaking about the consciousness aspect of UFO disclosure and also the experiencers. So we want to actually really highlight the experiencers here, because that's where you really get the information on what's going on and the level of consciousness of these beings. So we're going to have some ufologists and experiencers speaking about that.
Yeah, I actually got to meet Grant Cameron at the UFO conference in San Francisco, and
oh, nice.
We invited him up to the room for an after party, and we didn't think he was going to show, and then all of a sudden we got this knock on the door, and he's just a wealth of knowledge and information, and he's such a fun, cool guy, and
yeah, exactly.
I really enjoyed him. Yeah,
that's
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's cool. So we're going to have a lot of fun with him. Okay, and then we have Trisha McCannon, who's going to be doing Mayan prophecy and the fifth sun, but also moving that into information on a worldwide pyramid culture. There are pyramids all over the world, all based on ley lines in places you wouldn't even think, even in the U.S., even in Antarctica. The evidence for this is becoming quite immense, and a lot of different artifacts in Antarctica are now being uncovered. So she's going to be providing a worldwide pyramid culture feature presentation, but then also showing us images of Antarctica and these pyramids that are starting to become shown over there. And next we have John D'Souza, I spoke about earlier, the guy that X-Files was kind of based off. Mm-hmm. And then Jordan Sather, who is an up-and-coming millennial guy who for the last 2 years has been going on the UFO circuits, has been going viral on the internet, and provides a lot of information. He does some groundbreaking information on the secret space program and pulls it all together. But he's also like a lot of us who are, in the circuit where we have full circle awareness on ascension and consciousness and UFOs and ETs and vibration frequency. So he really has that kind of overall picture. So he'll be providing that. Then Joan of Angels, the Angel Workshop. Paula Harris, she's doing space beings visiting Earth, and also going to be speaking about space beings in Europe and Latin America and their interaction with different groups of people on the planet and what their messages are. Ray Hernandez, who worked with Edgar Mitchell, the third person to go onto the moon, created a survey for experiences with extraterrestrial contact to get a consensus on their kind of experiences. And do you want me to just keep going, or do you want to chime in at all, or do you want me to just go through them all?
Yeah, keep going.
Cool. And then we got Justin DeChamps, who is from Stillness and Storm. He's going to be doing a presentation of free energy, how holistic science and philosophy can change the world. Teresa Yanaris from Divine Frequency. She's doing Invisible Realms, Extraterrestrials Contact, and the Etheric Battery. Then we have Shreya Fox, who's doing The Power of Vibrational Alignment. That's a super self-empowerment vibrational frequency workshop. Meg Benedict, who is all about exiting the matrix. Her presentation is called Quantum Jump Your Ascension. She's an ascension teacher. Erica Lukes, She is a ufologist. She used to be the head director of MUFON in Utah. She is now an independent journalist and ufologist, and she's going to be there talking about a specific case outside of the U.S. Then we have Douglas Taylor, who's also a UFO experiencer and artist, and Serena Taylor, who will be an MC. Some other MCs: Robert Parala, Michelle Anderson, Jonah Bolt, and Alan Steinfeld. And then just really quickly, some sound healers and musicians that will be there. Peter Sterling, world-renowned harpist, who was actually taught by extraterrestrials on how to play the harp. Dr. Dream is going to be playing with 333 Tibetan bowl galactivation around everybody in the room with 12 people playing bowls. It's going to be really epic. Torcum G, 432 hertz quantum harmonic sound experience, 432 hertz digital sound bath. Arjun Kaur is going to be there with her gongs, like 4 different gongs blasting the room. And then Evan Perman, he's going to be the facilitator and the orchestrator of the didgeridoo experience, where we're going to have like 6 different didgeridoo players and drummers blasting everyone as well. And then we have some other artists, some hip-hop artists, spoken word people that are going to join us. So there's a lot of people. There's over 30 different presentations and performance and musicians. And then we also have around 10 different vendors. So it's going to be an amazing event with a lot of beautiful people there.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Now I really want to go. Well, getting back to some questions in the chat room, I just have one, and it's from BTO, and he's talking about the Anunnaki are mostly reptilians, but they're not all malevolent. But since Neil has shared about that, he's wondering, is Nibiru a dwarf star that travels throughout the Milky Way galaxy, and is Planet X a planet that revolves around Nibiru?
So a lot of people would tell you their own opinion on what they believe. However, every single one of those perspectives that, for example, we have a binary star system, and the binary star, which is the dwarf star, is actually Nibiru. And then there's another theory that that dwarf star actually has Nibiru rotating around it. And then there's another theory that we might have a binary star system, but the conventional model of Nibiru having a 3,600-year cycle in which it goes through between Mars and Earth every 3,600 years, that isn't directly connected to a binary star, is also another theory. However, they've all been proposed with evidence, so I don't claim to believe in any one of those because I don't know the exact truth. However, I do know those are all different possibilities. I do believe that we exist in a binary star, and Nibiru, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Nibiru is that dwarf star. How that would be if that planet is extremely hot because it's still a dwarf star, it's not really a planet, and what life can live in there, or if maybe in a higher dimension that planet has a livable environment and atmosphere that people can live in. So hopefully that kind of answers where I stand on that. Like, I know about all the different concepts and theories, but I can't really say one is real because even the original translation by Zecharia Sitchin is now being questioned. You know, so like you can't even look at what the original translation was because other people are translating it differently to say that it's a dwarf star. Mm-hmm. You know, and then there's also evidence to suggest that Nibiru has actually exploded some time ago, and the Anunnaki now live on Earth, right? So there's so much speculation in this. The only thing that you can be true and that probably is real is the fact that these beings actually existed, and it looks like that they could have actually been a group of different beings where they were not only reptilians but other civilizations as well, or they were a part of some other hierarchy, other kind of council. So yeah, that's just my input on that. I definitely don't have a direct answer, but I have questions and information.
For sure. And then Trip was asking in Spreaker, how big is the room? Sounds like Neil needs an arena.
Yeah, well, we can only fit up to 300 people there. And it takes a lot of work to promote this and get this out to people and have people show up, especially because we do a lot of online events, so most of our people attend online. So we have around 300, and we're really intending to maximize that as much as possible. And this is our first live huge conference since 2012, which is 6 years. So we're really just creating the foundation right now for creating our live events, you know. And eventually, hopefully, we can get into arenas, because I see that's what's going to happen. Like, when I had a dream about these kind of conferences years ago, I saw it, like huge conferences with so many people there, and the more people that wake up to this information, the more people that are going to come to these events. And this is the new information for the next dimension. Like, this is the information that will be worldwide. We are right now at the grassroots level and at the beginning of something that's going to be sweeping the entire planet in the years to come.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I know it's going to turn into something big, and it's amazing when you have those dreams. You just got to keep going. Like you said, you had that feeling that you wanted to quit because it's so hard, and it's hard to live the life that we have to in this country, but and try to pay our bills and all the other fun stuff. But I know it's going to be something very big and epic, and you guys are doing a very amazing job with it.
Thank you.
So when I was looking at your website, Ascension to Portals, that's it, right? Yeah. Portal to Ascension. Yeah, portaltoascension.org. I'm kind of going dyslexic at the moment. But there were several questions there as far as things that you guys are answering. And let me see. I'm kind of going backwards on my notes because I came across those later on. But what, to you, Neil, is humanity, and where did we come from?
So, to me, humanity is, there's so many different perspectives, and only one, if I say one thing, it really just kind of pigeonholes it. So I would say that we definitely are not just natively evolved on this planet. I feel that humanity is a product of evolution and creationism, and that the whole creationism evolution debate is really kind of both. That there was a species on this planet that existed, and then there was some sort of interference that occurred that created some sort of genetic mutation or DNA alteration, whether it was etheric before incarnation or actually physically on this planet, that created different experiments, different humanoids, that from whether it was Bigfoot or different types of humanoid races that existed before us, in order to, I don't believe in this slave species information. I think it was more of a mutual understanding, but also that these beings were created in order for these extraterrestrials and these souls to incarnate into, and that we are basically a lower dimensional experience of a higher dimensional consciousness, and that goes back higher and higher in density until you get originally to source. That the reason why this galaxy and this one, because this galaxy has its own laws of physics, everything is its own thing. So let's just talk about this cycle rather than the grand scheme of the universe and all the galaxies and how they fit together. That within this dimensional karmic cycle, there's a certain amount of densities and dimensions that we can incarnate into. At different levels of dimensions, you're tapped into a different aspect of consciousness, different levels of consciousness, until you get to the void, where you're just connected to all that is within this system. So I think humanity is not a devolution, but a drop down in density of these souls incarnating until we finally got to this planet. That's what happened in the spiritual realm. On the physical level, it looked like different extraterrestrial races seeding different planets, and then also creating different beings in lower dimensions. They created themselves, and then incarnating into those bodies and living those lower dimensional experiences. However, there was simultaneously existing within these bodies. When we get down to the third and fourth dimension, where we live on Earth and we get to linear time, we no longer have time how it looks like in the higher dimensions, where there is secular time, and then it goes to a realm where there is no time. So on Earth, it looks like that we are these incarnated beings, and in our future, we will evolve and become these ascended beings once again. But ultimately, time doesn't exist, and we're these beings that incarnated us in the first place. So I feel humanity is tapped in, is part of this collective consciousness of the universe, and we're just another experience of the grand scheme of all the experiences that are occurring. And the reason why, I don't ever, if somebody says what's the meaning of life, we all have our own perspective, but to me, the meaning of life is to experience. That ultimately the only reason that anything happens is Source wanted to experience itself. Source was what if I could be this? I am this oneness, but what would happen if I'm two? How will I know myself if I have a reflection? What if that reflection had another reflection? What if that reflection had a reflection of a reflection? And what would it look like? So we are now existing within the lowest dimension of the first dimension all the way to the fourth dimension, but being able to tap into more dimensions than that. And we are the ultimate reflection of Source, so separate from Source, so disconnected from Source, that Source is so unconditional that it allowed us to experience complete separation from it. However, the separation of us from the Source is still a part of the unconditional love of the universe, because the universe is so unconditional, it allows us to experience that. So humanity is not only this fragment from it, but I feel like this dimensional experience on this earth right now is the farthest separated from Source that we can get. So there is no way to go but back. So humanity's future role is really to keep evolving our consciousness, keep evolving our planet, and then also going out to the rest of the galaxy and maybe other galaxies and seeding other planets. And it's just the system just keeps going. That's kind of my take in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Just getting another question here from the chat room. Well, going back to, the whole arena thing and having the dream and whatnot, Trip went back to say Red Rock Acoustics would be amazing for what you guys are doing. Have you ever been there on your visits to Colorado?
Red Rock, where's that at?
It's up near the Boulder, Denver area.
Are you talking about Red Rock Amphitheater?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there last week. I went and watched Atmosphere there.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do something like that one day, that would be really cool.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one from BTO, and he is asking, what is Neil and Tessa's perspectives regarding the difference between individual unity, collective oneness, and who you consider Source?
Unity, collective, individual oneness, and what was the last thing?
And who do you consider Source?
Okay, so I don't consider anything Source. I consider everything Source. I don't know because I don't really look at anything as an external reality of there is a Source. I feel the external reality is the illusion of how we kind of personify how this world looks, but Source really is everything, but not just one thing. So that's how I kind of see Source. And individual compared to collective, the individual consciousness is us and the separation consciousness of us just feeling that we're not connected. And then the unity consciousness, the collective consciousness, is this collective consciousness that we agreed upon that also has these agreed rules of how this dimension would exist. The key is not to just be in individual consciousness or to be in collective consciousness. It's not like we're moving from individual to collective. We're actually doing both of them. The key is to evolve is to live both at the same time, to live the paradox. So we're not like moving away from being individuals and going into just super collective awareness. It's like, how do we achieve our individuality but still be connected collectively?
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you said, being that he asked both of us. Like, everything has a message and everything has that light within it. And if you are just aware of your surroundings and what things are telling you, you get so many different messages from that. And, I do believe in a higher power, whether you want to call it God or whatnot, but I don't believe in organized religion. There's just too many negatives with that, but I do like to go out into nature and listen to everything around me and just get those messages. And it's pretty awesome and peaceful at the same time. And not stressful, like trying to get ready and go to church and go through all the hoopla. But yeah, I think just getting in touch with everything and everyone and just, I don't know. I like the idea of, building each other up and helping each other, and whether it's plant, animal, or your fellow man. I mean, it's so important for us to be there for everyone and everything.
Definitely.
All right, so we got 3 more minutes before we're going to break, and I don't know if I want to go on to the next question because it might take longer than that, but you are pretty quick on your feet. What can we learn from our ancient history and civilizations?
Yes, we can learn that we've made mistakes in the past that has destroyed ourselves. This is just one thing. There's many things we can learn, but I'm going to take it there. That we have done things in the past. We have done genetic mutation. We have become corrupt. Our egos took control. There's a lot of evidence to suggest this, a lot of scriptures that talk about it. We have fallen from grace, and we're not going back there. So by looking at what we've done in the past, that could help a lot. Second thing, ancient technology. Don't think that these megalithic sites, people say, oh, ancient technology could have made it, but we're just going to pretend it's not the case. No, these governments, these people, these elite actually have the information of the ancient technology that was utilized. There's been ancient technology that has been discovered that can change the world as we know it. And these ancient technologies that can assist in us learning how to use and create new modern technology that can cure all disease on the planet. And then thirdly, it's our true history. We're on a planet of amnesia. We don't remember who we are, where we came from. These individuals did. The scriptures are talking about it. As soon as people start talking about the true world history and ancient civilizations, and you start reading the information that they were talking about, they gives us a sense of being grounded in who we are. We're not just a culturalist society, culture and civilization of humans that are just kind of going around winging it. We can have more of a foundation of where we've been and then go based on that. So uncovering our true ancient history is really going to blow the lid off a lot of things. And then obviously the fourth component is all connected to extraterrestrials. So once you get into the extraterrestrial question, free energy comes out, cure for all diseases, time travel, like whatever, like all these different things that can come from the technology, from these extraterrestrials, and the awareness of the fact that they've been here for tens of thousands of years, if not since the beginning of time.
Awesome. So on that note, we're going to go to our first break, and you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
There's news, and there's The Encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Thiemer inviting you to check out The Encounter. Our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. Here comes the second hour of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. And you can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT. Now, back to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're in our second hour with Neil Gaur. Welcome back, Neil. So great to have you on the show tonight.
Hey, yes, I'm here.
Good. I'm glad I didn't lose you.
No worries.
Okay. So did you have anything else on that, or did we leave on a good note for humanity?
Yeah. What were we talking about? Can you refresh my memory?
Humanity and where did we come from?
No. Pretty much that was it in a nutshell. We can talk about it forever though, but
yeah,
yes, that was basically where we came from. But where we came from, there's so many different things. I mean, you can just to add to it, you can even be like, where did we come from as humanity, as in this extraterrestrial race, or you can even go back further as to what race or group of beings or what energy created the race of beings that even created us, and what created that energy. You know what I'm saying? It goes back so far. It's like, what really was the original trigger of how humanity came about? And since we have a long time on this talk, why don't I tell a story about the creation story? Are you open to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this book called The Prism of Lyra, and it's by Lisa Royale. It's like a 150 to 200 page book. You can read it in like 3 hours, but it's epic. It tells you the beginning and the first seeding of humanity, because humanity, we've been seeded many different times. Different races have come here. Experiments have been started over and over and over. And even maybe not humanity, other races were here before that. So in the Prism of Lyra, it talks about the first humanoid species that existed within our galaxy. And Lyra is the closest constellation to the center of our galaxy. When you come out of the black hole in the center of the galaxy, the first constellation you will stumble into will be Lyra. There was a group, the book goes into explaining that there was a group of, I guess you can call them beings, or just one collective entity, energy, that existed in the void right in the center of our galaxy, in the black hole. They wanted to come out and incarnate into the Milky Way and become actual physical civilization. So this group of energy came through the Prism of Lyra, and it's called the Prism of Lyra because imagine the black hole as a prism where the light comes out of, and through the prism the light manifests into all the colors of the physical spectrum, creating the physical reality. So these beings were the Lyrans, you may have heard of, and the Lyrans were feline humanoid beings with feline-like faces. A lot of the feline humanoid beings we see in Egypt are actually connected to the Lyrans. So the Lyrans existed in this constellation, and they were the first humanoid, the first template of what we are. And at that time, our galaxy was 100%, almost 100% occupied by reptilian races, but not reptilian in the negative aspect, because there is no negative, solely negative race, solely positive race. There's a wide range, wide spectrum in all races, on all civilizations. So our galaxy was like preoccupied by reptilian races, and there were also the dragon races. The most advanced races that existed in our galaxy when the humanoids, Lyrans, came in were the dragon races and also the mantis beings. So in Lyra, the humanoids are there. They're there for millennia, and war breaks out. Duality breaks out. Separation happens on the planet, and this constellation of Lyra has 3 planets, and one of the group of beings from the planet where the Lyrans were left that planet and went to the other planet and inhabited the other planet. So these 2 planets ended up having war as well, and then a 3rd planet in the same solar system was inhabited. The 3rd planet was completely destroyed through nuclear and different forms of energetic weapons, and the group of beings on the 3rd planet had to go underneath ground in order to survive. And these group of beings were the first ever Greys. After being underground for so long, they couldn't sustain their bodies anymore. They couldn't get the energy that they needed because they didn't have the sun and other elements. So they started creating extraterrestrial biological entities, gray bodies, where they would transfer their consciousness into. This planet was called Zeta Reticuli. So this is the story of the first humanoid race, and the first connection to the Greys, and the first issue that the humans ever had with the gray races, being that the Greys used to be actually humans that had no choice but to transfer their consciousness into bodies that weren't able to feel emotions in order to basically still live. So fast forward, the book goes on to speak about how the different races in this system, the Greys, the Zeta Reticuli, and the 2 different humanoid races on either planet, started going out. They're very higher dimensional. They started going out into the rest of the galaxy and inhabiting different places. They went to Sirius first. They went to Arcturus. They went to different places, and they went to Orion. And the humanoids slowly started incarnating in different dimensions, different densities all over the place, stemming out of Lyra. One of the groups of beings were the beings called the original Pleiadians. If you do any research on the Pleiadians, you'll find a lot of information to show that the Pleiadians were originally living on Earth in our solar system before they even went to Pleiades. And what happened was that these groups of beings existed and came to Earth, living very high dimensionally, and then the Lyrans and the Sirians came to Earth to do the first ever genetic mutation of the person of the species on the planet. So the Lyrians and the Syrians were the first ones to do the genetic manipulation and experimentation, just like the story of the Anunnaki that happened maybe millions of years later. So the Lyrians and the Syrians, they wanted to change the genetic makeup of us. However, they couldn't do that without the assistance of the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians left Earth and went to the Pleiades when the Lyrians and the Syrians showed up because they didn't want anything to do with them. So when they're in the Pleiades, the Lyrians and the Syrians had to go to the Pleiadians and say, we need your assistance to genetically alter the human on Earth because your DNA is connected to their DNA and we can't make any changes without your DNA. So the Pleiadians, the Syrians, and the Lyrians all came together to create the first genetic experimentation on Earth. And this story is kind of like the first creation story, the original creation story that everything stemmed out of. And I want to tie it into this aspect. This ties into many of the ancient scriptures on Earth, especially the Bible. The way this book connects it is that the Lyrians in the Bible is actually God in the Bible, and the Syrians in the Bible are actually the snake. Because the Lyrians, they wanted to create a perfect embodiment of a fifth-dimensional individual. In Lyra, they wanted to do that too. They wanted to be in paradise and harmony. However, war broke out and they never ever achieved it. Millennia and millennia later, the Lyrians wanted to recreate this but wanted to create it on Earth. Earth was originally supposed to be a paradise planet, a harmonious planet in its entirety. The Lyrians were creating a being what they can incarnate into and they can live a harmonious lifestyle simultaneously as being a Lyrian. However, the Syrians believed that the Lyrians were violating the free will of the beings that they were creating. So the Syrians came down to Earth and basically spoke to, let's just put it in context of the Bible, spoke to Adam and Eve and said, hey, God up there, he wants you to stay in the Garden of Eden. God wants you to do what he wants and live in paradise, but I feel that you should eat from the tree of knowledge, and you have the opportunity to have free will, and you should make that choice yourself. Don't listen to God, make your own choice. So this was the original story of the Lyrians and the Syrians and the humans on the planet, which is the exact same story as the Bible, whereas Lyra is God, the Syrians is the snake because the Syrians gave free will, and then the humans were what Adam and Eve. It's very interesting to note here, there is no good or bad, because the Lyrians wanted us to experience heavenly paradise, and they were the ones that were going to incarnate into us anyway, so they had an invested interest. But the Syrians were just giving us the choice of free will. However, in antiquity, the Syrians became the devil and the evildoers because they gave us that choice of free will, when ultimately they were just giving us and allowing us to accept the laws of the universe. So I thought that's a little cool story right there about kind of like our history and creationism.
And what was the name of that book again?
Prism of Lyra, and you can download it for free online. So just type in Prism of Lyra.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I was wrong as far as the last question went because I didn't mark it off. So I went back, but the last question was, what can we learn from our ancient history and civilizations? And there's these, different ancient dwellings where they have actually picked up radiation as if there was some sort of radioactive explosion, if not atom bomb, and we even get the same stuff going on Mars, which makes you wonder, did that happen there as well? And that's why they moved or we moved or whoever was there, or is that just radiation from the sun? I don't know. But it's pretty interesting to look back on that. Do you have anything else on the ancient history and civilizations that go along those lines?
Yeah, for sure. Well, to talk about your point in regards to radiation, that's definitely the sites that have been discovered with radiation there definitely have a lot of radiation, so that they cannot be looked at as maybe from the sun. For example, if you look at are you familiar with the Mahabharata, the Indian text?
No, I'm not, but I'd love to hear about it.
So the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu Bible, if you will, is only one chapter in the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is extremely interesting because the most peaceful, non-violent religion in the world, their entire text is a whole entire epic battle. So the Mahabharata is an epic battle in which one chapter is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is the Bible, but the Mahabharata is the consensus of this war that took place. However, it's a spiritual war in the heavens between these gods, right? And in the Mahabharata, there's this brotherhood. Like before the Mahabharata occurred, before the war in the Mahabharata, because the Mahabharata is all about that. There was, excuse me, let me take a little step back here. So in the Mahabharata, there are two brothers. There was a brotherhood before the war occurred. The brotherhood was the White Brotherhood. There were two brothers. One was called Arjun. I forget the name of the other one, and they were both princes, and they were the princes on Earth. This actually coincides with the story of Enlil and Enkel. And these brothers started being at war with each other because after the White Brotherhood went down, and whoever ruled above them, whether it was the king or the father or whoever was above them before, went out of power, they started warring against each other. When they were warring against each other, Krishna, who a lot of people probably heard about, Krishna would team up with Arjuna, and Krishna was Arjuna's spiritual advisor at the Battle of Mahabharata. And Mahabharata actually translates into English as Battle of Atlantis. So what the Mahabharata is, and the whole story of the Hindu text and the Bible is within, is actually the story of the fall of Atlantis and how the brotherhoods basically became at war with each other and began fighting each other and basically created this devolution. So I went on a side tangent there, but let me get back to what I was trying to say. Where the Mahabharata took place is a place called Mohenjo-Daro in Sindh, Pakistan, right in northwest India. This place is completely radiated site. That is an ancient site that no one has dropped nuclear weapons on, especially since the time that we've been able to have nuclear energy on Earth, since the early 1900s. However, this entire place is completely radiated. Nothing has grown there for thousands of years, if not tens of thousands of years. Plus, the ground is almost like glass because the heat of whatever occurred there was so high that it literally turned the ground into glass. So the story of the Hindu text not only is talking about the fall of Atlantis and the battle between the two brotherhoods, which is interesting because there was one brotherhood in Atlantis, and then when we fell from grace from the fifth dimension in Atlantis, there became two brotherhoods, which became the first ever duality. But there's a lot of evidence there to suggest there was radiation and nuclear weapons. And even in the text of the Mahabharata, there are lightning bolts being thrown in the sky. The whole entire thing are basically like huge crafts with these blue beings inside of them, with humans riding alongside these blue beings, throwing lightning bolts at each other. That's what the scripture is talking about. And if you look deeper, you can come to the conclusion that these crafts are definitely probably some sort of extraterrestrial craft, and the lightning bolt was some sort of weapon that they were using at the time.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, like I was talking about Mars before, and there's this huge rift. It's like kind of compared to the Grand Canyon, but it appears that it was like a large lightning strike or whatnot that just like tore the Earth from here to there, or Mars, the surface of the planet. And so that was another interesting thing, like what sort of weapon or tool was that? And then you're saying lightning, and that's pretty awesome. It actually makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And whether it was actually physical lightning or whether it was a metaphor for what they couldn't really fathom, we don't know.
We have a question from BTO again in the chat room, and he said it's a loaded question. Do you think or feel that this is the only universe? Are many of us incarnated universal creator selves? Are there unique universes within this multiverse, or do you consider it to be a parallel universe?
I say all of the above. I think there's parallel universes, there's multiverses, there's universes that have the laws of physics completely different than the laws of physics in our universe. The way it looks, I really can't wrap my head around it, but I do understand and believe that we are just one universe, and there are many different universes existing, and then on top of each other, we're not only at dimensions within the universe. So let's break it down. Not only are there dimensions of different levels of experience in the same exact universe, meaning right now we're existing third or fourth dimensionally, whoever you ask, depending on who you ask, and then we can exist fifth dimensionally, but we still exist in this universe, but as fifth dimensional beings. even right now, there's fifth dimensional beings coexisting with us, where they could probably see us, and we exist in their universe, but we don't see them, and they don't exist in our universe, but they literally do, but we don't see them because of the frequency that they shifted out of. So that's one thing, like the different dimensions within the one universe. And then there's also parallel universes that probably go side to side of that, where they say that there's another version of you infinitely in different parallel universes where something could just be off a little differently. And that all seems right there. That could be in one construct of one single universe, like a cycle, a system, a computer program for how one universe exists multidimensionally and also parallelly. And then you have other universes that have different laws of physics that probably have the same kind of structure. And then also there are I believe, dimensional wormholes in where you can go to other universes that are just different times of this universe that you're in right now, whether it's called time travel or anything like that. So I feel that everything that you're saying is true. I don't think that there's just parallel universes and just multiple universes, that there is probably infinite realities. And definitely when it comes to parallel universes and being infinite realities of ourselves, because there's something called predetermined free will. And predetermined free will is a paradox. It's like, how could something be predetermined if you have free will? Like, they should not go with each other. But the reason why we have predetermined free will is because every reality and every possibility exists already. So that means it's another dimensional parallel reality that this possibility exists. There's a dimensional reality where I'm saying what I'm saying now, and that's the one I'm in right now. And there's another dimensional reality that instead of using my right hand to convey to the microphone how I'm talking, I'll be using my left hand, you know? So like there's all these different parallel realities, but every single possibility that ever exists and anything that you could ever do exists because all possibilities exist. Therefore, everything is predetermined because everything exists. However, it's free will. Because everything exists, you still have the free will to choose any possibility at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And BTO was saying, good point, Neil, and he was also saying we enter, experience, and master each other's universe.
Yep.
Universes.
Yeah. We're just a bunch of universes. So let's go into the little deeper what the individual is saying, that are we our own universes? That's something too. Like, are we our own universes right now, completely self-sufficient, but under the illusion that we're co-creating, even though we're our own universe? Or are we in a co-creative universe where we're all sharing this space in this specific moment? However, when we go into a higher dimensional existence and we no longer exist within linear time, do we move from a co-creation to 100% creation? Whereas right now, we have to rely on other people's consciousnesses to really cultivate this experience. But if we go into another level of consciousness, another dimension, say 7th or 8th dimensionally, is our entire reality and even everything we interact with us, and we don't have to rely on another consciousness to experience something? Or, you know what I mean? Like, those are just questions that I have too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many questions out there. And will we ever know the answers? I don't know, but we're working towards that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have this other question, but I'm not sure if it's the same as the one just before. What is our true history, and why is it significant?
So it is kind of the same, but it's a good point to keep making. So true history is, let's go on to one aspect of it all and look at the bigger picture. It looks like from archaeological evidence, also esoteric scriptures, but now being backed by science, that we have been going through 26,000 year cycles of consciousness, whereas not only are we at the end of our galaxy and we're spinning around the center of our galaxy, but we're also doing spirals, Fibonacci spirals, while we're traveling at that speed around our galaxy. And I just hear myself right there. Oh, did you just play my video, Tessa? Do you want to turn that down?
I didn't. I have nothing.
Oh, I just
playing.
heard it in the background. That was weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Hold on. It might be me. Let me take it off. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry about that.
No worries.
So the 26,000 year cycles of consciousness, where we seem to be going through different levels of awareness. It's called the different levels we go through are named the Bronze Age, the Golden Age, the Dark Age, and the Silver Age. Right now, it's been said that we've been in the dark age for quite some time, and we're going up into the nether. A 13,000 year cusp is we're reaching that brink right now, and we're going into the next level of consciousness where we're going to the Bronze Age and eventually into the Golden Age. If you look at all the ancient scriptures, you see their calendar, they're all secular calendars, whether it's the Mayan calendar, the Indian calendar, the Hebrew calendar, the Chinese calendar. They're all secular because they're going based on this 26,000 year cycle of consciousness. Now, the archaeological finds that we're finding is that at these different intervals, 13,000 years ago, 26,000 years ago, another 13,000 years ago, we're seeing technology and societies and civilizations that at the level of consciousness that that has been predicted to be at that moment. So all this evidence is coming out. So our true ancient history is now showing that we've been going through these 26,000 years of evolution, devolution, evolution, devolution for eons and eons, hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years. This ties into the fact that there's been many, many great civilizations. We're talking about the last one being Atlantis and the one before that being Lemuria. And depending who you ask, most of those date back from 12 to 30,000 years ago. That's only the last time there was a great advanced civilization on this planet. So just think, if we've been doing this countless times for millions of years, every 26,000 years, imagine how many great civilizations existed on this planet. Imagine what they accomplished. Imagine what got destroyed. And think about why we can't see it anymore. Where we can hardly even find evidence for Atlantis. Atlantis is still considered as a myth in the grand scheme of the world, even though there's a lot of evidence for it. There's actually more evidence to suggest it existed. It's just covered up. But then you try to go back further than that, and we find nothing. And there's been war on this planet. There's been nuclear fallout on this planet. The planet's been scorched with fire, where everything has been wiped out. The technology from civilizations hundreds of thousands of years ago or more are either like really deep somewhere where we can't find them, or they have been discovered but not dated, or completely wiped out. So by going into this community that we're all in talking about right now, you start to discover all the different components of what these civilizations knew and the technology that they had and how they're connected to us, because they're all ancestors. So our true history is extremely important because it will give us some sort of foundation of our ancient past and what happens when you know how the system works. Like right now we can create a textbook for humanity. How humans operate, what the relationship cycles are, what happens at certain ages, what happens when you're a teenager, what happens when you're in 30s after Saturn's returns. It's all these cycles that we're going through, and we're all going through similar things in our own way. But we don't spend the time, the money, the research in order to really cultivate the fact that all of this stuff around us is a system of cycles that we already know what they are, but we're not accepting it on the mainstream. Once we realize this on the mainstream and we know how the universe works and how everything ticks and talks and how the cycles of time go around and where we are on that zodiac and when we're going into the next one, we can ride everything intentionally. So right now we are completely with amnesia. We're completely doing things with arrogance. We're moving forward without any sense of being grounded, and we aren't intentional with anything we're doing as a collective race. We're just all winging it because we don't know why we're here. So once we understand why we're here and what we've done, we can be more intentional about what we want to create in the future.
Yeah, and it's funny how those things are lost to us, like you were saying, and how some forget it, some carry on the stories, and then, some think of it as just lore, just like, Greek mythology and all these other things. Actually believe in those, and I believe in Atlantis, and I believe anything is possible, and why discount that just because it's known as mythology? It could be an ancient history that just seems just so out of our realm that we can't really wrap our minds around it, but it's pretty amazing, and the things that we're finding time after time in tombs and all these different scripts and stuff that are enlightening us even more. It's just awesome, and I always look forward to those.
Mm-hmm. And mythology, you got to realize that the people that came up with these so-called myths didn't think of them as myths as they created them, and they weren't as stupid as we've been told that they are. So it's not like back in the day everyone spoke in metaphors, so they're like, oh, we're just going to speak in metaphors all the time. It's not like that's how the world was, and they were all just ignorant, saying like, let's speak in a metaphor about this place that might have existed called Atlantis, and completely put that out. To them, Atlantis was as real as the fact that the White House exists. They were talking about it in poetry because that's the way they communicated and the philosophers communicated, but they were talking about some real information that had been passed down to them.
So going on to my next question, how can we empower ourselves and shift our wounded egos and step into our authentic selves?
Well, becoming informed and information is key. Once we have perspective on ourselves and why we're here, and the fact that we're all interconnected, whether you need linear scientific evidence to prove that we're all interconnected so you can conceptualize it, that evidence is out there. Or if you're more a person into spirituality and experiencing that with sound and frequency, then you can have that too. So how we can all shift our wounded egos is not by only informing ourselves, but utilizing it and becoming really practical with what we're learning. And it's really truly about, if you want to make it, because I don't like to complicate things and people give you all the tools, like you could do this, you can do that. If you want to just bring it down to the base level, take care of yourself and take care of others. You don't need to know all of this information. If you have love for yourself, you're shifting out of it. Whatever you can do to unconditionally love yourself, not for the fact that you are doing what you do, like not loving yourself because you're a great investment banker, not loving yourself because you've created this business and you're like, oh my God, look how awesome I am, but loving yourself for simply existing. I don't feel like we can all, we can all achieve that, yes, but I don't feel like we need to be upset if we don't achieve it, but we need to strive to respect ourselves and love ourselves. And when we do that unconditionally without having an ego about the fact that we love ourselves, we're able to project that onto the rest of the world. And if we can love ourselves enough not to project ourselves onto people in a negative way, passive aggressively, trying to hurt someone, trying to get something out of someone, reacting to what they're saying, being on fight or flight all the time, if we can get out of those basic self-empowerment, self-spiritualization, spiritual development kind of 101 information, if we can really do that, then everything else is going to manifest. The reason why there's no extraterrestrials just landing on our lawns right now is because we're not at the level collectively where we can do that. So if we were all to work on ourselves and love ourselves and respect ourselves and therefore respected each other, we could have a reality with full disclosure, complete transparency, unity, and open contact with extraterrestrials.
Myself. Which is more important? Is it more conscious or aware-based, or both are needed to reintegrate? And that's from BTO.
Conscious or aware-based. I'm not sure what the difference is. Do you want to elaborate? Do you know what BTO is probably talking about? Conscious or aware-based?
Maybe like through your conscious or subconscious, and then things that we're aware of in our daily lives, like maybe perhaps information that's needed. Let me see if he says anything here in the chat room.
Yeah, because to me, elaborate on what those mean for you, because to me, being conscious and being aware are very similar. You could probably say a little different, but so being aware of things, let's say, like, you can wait for the response and then add to this, but okay. Being aware of things are like being aware of the corruption and the manipulation, right? So I would say being aware of what's happened is important, because some people need that in order to basically shift something and become something else or do something else. And becoming conscious maybe is the more spiritual aspect of becoming conscious of your life, yourself, your food, things like that. So I would say they're both important, but I would also say that becoming aware isn't needed for everyone. We will all become conscious of ourselves and life and existence and why we're here, but becoming aware of all the intricacies of the small things and why they occur, like not everybody needs to know that. And I know a lot of people, for example, that just skipped over the conspiracies and straight went into becoming conscious, and they're just in that realm and that's what they do. And some people, they need to become aware because they're not easily moving into the conscious stuff without becoming aware of why they need to do it.
Okay, and he's reintegrating here and saying, isn't consciousness more mind, logic, ego-based, whereas self-awareness is more heart, feel, and soul-based? Which is more important? Is it more conscious or aware-based, or both are needed to reintegrate?
So I would say that that is all based on personal definition, because there is no definition that says consciousness is all like mental, and that self-awareness is all heart-based. That's completely up to you, the way you look at it. Just like the fact that a lot of people in the spiritual community don't use the word God because that signifies organized religion or signifies something separate. But then a lot of people in the spiritual community use the word God because it's synonymous to source to them. So I would say consciousness is the field of energy that is everything. Becoming conscious might be talking about your actual brain and becoming conscious and aware to things in your own mentality, but the consciousness is not anything. Consciousness exists outside of our brains. Consciousness is all that is, and consciousness is also what we download through our brains and through our heart. The key is not to just process consciousness and kind of conceptualize it with our brain only, but the key is to process consciousness through our heart and then utilize our brains to really implement that. So whether we get the feeling of consciousness in our heart and then we create some sort of invention through our brains that is here to benefit humanity, I feel that's kind of, hopefully that answers it a little bit.
Nice. I thought it was a good answer. Kat from the chat room was also asking, why are we here?
Well, I would say we're here to experience, but I'd also put the disclaimer that I don't really know why we're here, and I never want to ever answer the question why we're here. And one of the best quotes from Jordan Maxwell and many other people have said since is that always trust the person that says let me think about it. Trust the person that says he's seeking the truth, and be wary of the one that says he's found the truth. Right? So when people tell me like, hey, yeah, well, I know the meaning to life and this is it, I'm like already taken back, because we all have our own meanings. And ultimately, through my extensive research of the laws of the universe and why we're here, I have my own opinions that I really believe. And I would say from my own perspective is that we are here to experience all this different drama occurred in the incarnational cycle of why we even came here. So many things, not only within this dimension and this physical reality, from every solar system, planet, and every asteroid needing to be created and put in the place that it was, so Earth and humans could be made and created to the aspect and to the consciousness that we are now. But all these other things had to happen throughout antiquity in order for the string of events to occur for us to be on this planet at all. But even though all of this occurred, the eventual and the only reason that all this occurred for was so that we could experience something other than what we've experienced before. And now we're here having a complete new experience, and that's why free will is the best creation ever. We incarnated into realities where there was limited free will to no free will. And the best way for consciousness and universe and source and whatever you want to call it to experience itself is through complete separation, where we have complete free will to have a wide range of experiences. So the reason why we're here right now, I believe, is to clock in hours, so to speak, to the central consciousness, central source, and just keep giving data back to the universe.
Nice. So moving on. Oh, go ahead.
Let me add to that, yeah, because with that, because a lot of people want to think like something positive when why are we here? We're here to awaken and empower and shift. That's all a given. Yeah, we're here to do that. But you got to realize that there is no judgment on the negativity or the bad either. So the reason why we're here to experience is because good or bad is just an experience in the grand scheme of consciousness, because it's not like we're all punishments are all self-inflicted in the universe. And punishments aren't even punishments. Punishments are experiences where other aspects of ourselves are enjoying the punishment that we might think is a punishment, like an incarnation into a hell-like planet or something. So it's like we're here to experience. And yes, at this time, at this moment of humanity, we're also here to help shift and raise the consciousness of the planet and go into another dimensional reality. But there have been times where why have we been here? The reason we've been here was to do the opposite of that, right? And then there's individuals on the planet that why they're here to make sure that we don't evolve, because it's literally like the whole world is a stage. We're just all playing roles, and we're all here just to give each other contrast. Three of the most believable. No, can you tell me? Oh yeah, that was one of my writers. That was one of my writers. Yes. So those are actual different places. No, I can't go into that because somebody else wrote that and published it. Yeah. Which one? Oh, I couldn't tell you that one. I can go on without that one for all day. Okay, so that was a title that was used for SEO because it's a good SEO title to get people in there. But what that title is really about is talking about the recent occurrences within the UFO community and why these new sightings are becoming even more important. So sightings have picked up, but what's important to note is what happened December of last year. Are you familiar with the disclosure announcement December 17th of last year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 made an announcement on from his Twitter page with ex-NSA officials, NASA officials, CIA officials, basically announcing the fact that this UFO phenomena is real. They reverse engineered some technology. They are looking into creating advanced technology such as anti-gravity and spacecraft that can help us travel to different planets at really short times. And all this information came out, and what it really was a confirmation from the military industrial complex, actually from the Department of Defense. It was a confirmation that this stuff is real. The Department of Defense has their own agenda, and the jury is still out whether they have a positive or negative agenda. I have my own perspective that I'm not going to go into right now on the fact that they're DoD and it's really about militarization and also about militarization of space and creating a fake alien threat. However, after December occurred, they made some promises that they're going to be releasing footage. And when they did their announcement in December, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Huffington Post, many other mainstream outlets across the board picked up the same exact story and put it out there, letting people know. So what this means is, even though the agenda and the intention behind the Department of Defense disclosure isn't really for the betterment of humanity, but is an attempt to hijack the UFO disclosure movement in order to bring out information in a controlled manner rather than allowing it to come out in a grassroots level. Even though this is the case, what they did is they confirmed this to many people and now have made a lot of people who looked crazy before look pretty legit. But after that time, they've been releasing a few videos every couple of months that are creating more and more confirmation. So what is happening is they're creating an app. They're attempting to create an app where people around the world can, when they have a UFO sighting, they can clock their app and triangulate where they are and upload it. That goes directly to the Department of Defense, allowing the Department of Defense to know where all these UFO sightings are happening worldwide, allowing them to send aircraft and different things there to test them, maybe even take down these aircraft and get technology, because their whole entire goal really is technology, not the consciousness. You can see behind what the people's agenda is by seeing what they're pushing. Not one time have they said anything about the extraterrestrials, the interdimensionals running these beings, who's behind it, why they're here. They completely skip over that and go 100% into the technology and talk about how we can make money and how it's going to be we can become a shareholder and crowdfund for these technologies. Not telling you that these technologies that they want to crowdfund for, they've already released because they've been reverse engineering this technology for quite some time. So this is what's been happening in the last year. And my last point on this is that you will see more about UFO sightings now. You'll see more evidence with scientific backed evidence and more genuine questions from mainstream outlets, because there was a boycott on what's a better word than boycott? There was a blackout on. There was no, what's it called? What does Steve Bassett call it? Okay, never mind. But there was basically a blackout for all media outlets in the U.S. especially on any UFO topic. They weren't allowed to talk about it. They weren't allowed to address it. And if they did, they had to make it funny. There's a CIA document talking about this from the 70s. Literally, it's a CIA document. And Ron Pandolfi, who was an ex-CIA official in the movie Unacknowledged with Stephen Greer, he told people in this thing, his ex-CIA official, this guy was responsible for going and giving the media outlets packages of money and telling them what to say about the UFO phenomena. So they were completely, like, if you look back before last year and you type in UFO mainstream news, you'll probably hear 9 out of 10 of them will be like do 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 in the background, making it really stupid and silly. But now the blackout has been lifted, because they have been given a green light from the Department of Defense that actually owns the media. Because if you see what happened after the Department of Defense made their announcement, every single media outlet, even if they were competing with the other outlet, dropped the exact same story. Wait a second, these guys all have different journalists. They're different companies. They wouldn't plagiarize the exact same story, but they did, because the DoD gave them the story and all of them picked them up and dropped it. Just goes to show how they're all in alignment, pushing the same agenda. So ever since this has happened now, okay, so there will be more information, and there has been. So if you pay close attention to what's going on in the news, when you see topics on UFOs and extraterrestrials, you'll start seeing that they're going to take it more and more seriously. And who knows what's going to happen? Because right now they're taking it more seriously because the Department of Defense is trying to do this drip disclosure campaign that is really about them getting advanced technology, weaponizing space, and then making us feel that there's a fake alien threat external from us. But what they're doing is it's all backfiring. I feel like no matter what happens, we're ascending. No matter what happens, the consciousness of the planet is raising. They can try whatever they want, but everything they do is going to backfire. If you type in UFO disclosure because you just found out about UFO disclosure through Tom DeLonge, you're not going to find Tom DeLonge and all that stuff. You're going to find us. You're going to find people that are actually trying to empower humanity, because we've been doing this for so long. We own the internet when it comes to these topics, right? So it's like they've woke up millions of people. Millions of people are literally like, whoa, what the hell did these guys just say UFOs exist? And the consequence of that, they're just being more open to the fact that we can have open contact in the future. So that's kind of a roundabout way of explaining that.
Nice. BTO was curious and asking, has Neil had any UFO alien experiences from an extraterrestrial and or interdimensional perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I believe I've had those experiences, but I'm not conscious of them. But I have had UFO sightings where one time I was at a beach in California at Crystal Cove near Laguna Beach, and I was there with a few of my friends, and one of my friends had a didgeridoo. She was playing it, and I looked into the sky, and literally there was this wormhole. There was this little small craft, and then in front of it, a wormhole, Fibonacci spiral wormhole, opened up, and it went right through the wormhole. And that was my first UFO sighting. And then 4 years ago in San Diego, I was driving back from a festival, and there was this craft going in the sky, and then all of a sudden this blue thing leaked out of the back of it, and then half the entire sky became covered with this blue thing. And it was the most epic experience I've ever seen. And when I got home, they were saying that it was a routine test military off the coast of San Diego. They were doing a routine missile test. However, a routine missile test implies that they do it before. However, they'd never done it before. And after the news picked up the story and said there was this sighting and we don't know what it is, people think it's extraterrestrials and all this stuff, they said the military isn't commenting. 2 hours later, they said, oh, the military just got back to us and told us it's this. However, the missile that the military told the public that it was actually a missile that emanates a red stream behind it, not a blue stream. So they even said the wrong thing. So that right there was a huge sighting for me. Ultimately, most of my awareness of everything really comes from just a deep knowing of why I'm here and what I got to do, and years of struggling, of accepting my mission. And then just 4 years ago being like, all right, I'm not going to do anything else. This is it 100%. I'm never going to work for anyone ever again. I've created this thing now that no matter what happens for the rest of my life, I'm going to be doing this work. And so I have a direct connection like that. There was a time where I used to be really upset because I was doing this work and I was like, oh, I want to have open contact. I want to have extraterrestrial contact. Come down here. There was a couple of years where every night of my life I was going to sleep begging to be abducted. Mm-hmm. Not in a weird kind of crazy way, but more come take me right now. I'm ready. I want to experience this because I'm here. I'm 100% doing this for open contact extraterrestrials, consciousness, all that I would love to have this tangible experience. And then through a plant medicine journey I did soon afterwards, I was told that my intention, my purpose on this planet was to do this without the need to know, but the complete feeling of it all. But I also got the download that as soon as I let go of the need to know, that's when things may actually happen, you know. So at this point I have some small interactions, but nothing as tangible as an actual extraterrestrial like manifesting in front of me or communicating to me directly in my dreams or anything like that.
Nice. Well, Trip in the chat room was asking what your thoughts on the battle over LA is.
Oh yeah, I definitely. There's a lot of speakers that we work with that talk about that, but I definitely think the Battle of LA was an extraterrestrial. Some people say that it was an extraterrestrial war, but some people that we work with say that it was actually reverse engineered craft, and there were different opposing secret space programs from different countries that were warring against each other. I really don't know. Only a higher consciousness would probably be able to give me that information.
Nice. My next question was, how are our benevolent ET races helping us?
So there's the law of non-interference. Star Trek is extremely close to the truth. Gene Roddenberry and people like James Cameron, they actually attend channeling events, and they used to attend Paradigm Research Group events with Steve Bassett in Malibu a few years ago, where they would actually go to these events on UFO Disclosure. They would get a lot of information from these individuals. Do you mind saying your question one more time? I'm speaking so much I'm forgetting where I'm at, but say it again so I can get back to it.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
How are benevolent ET races helping us?
Okay, so these yes, I was saying Star Trek is really true in the fact that it says there's a law on non-interference. It's the prime directive. So when it comes to extraterrestrials and their influence on the planet, it has to be extremely indirect, because since there is the law of non-interference, we're supposed to have our own ability to evolve. Some people say that before 2012 there was a quarantine on the planet where extraterrestrial races weren't allowed to directly come down and do things and help us on this planet because of the quarantine. But after 2012, the quarantine has been lifted and more beings are allowed to assist us. Most of the beings that actually influence us on this planet are quote unquote for negative beings. I don't really like to use that word negative, but let's just use that to keep it simple. So a lot of the beings that actually manipulate us on this planet are negative. The reason why is because they exist in our dimension or in a lower dimension in which they exist within the realm of free will, and they're able to manipulate our free will a little more. The benevolent ETs exist in a higher dimensional existence. A lot of them don't interfere with us at all because they don't see our negative experiences as negative, but experiences to assist us in growing. Sometimes the most darkest of experiences, actually all the time, the most darkest of experiences allow us to grow the most. So why would these benevolent ETs interfere in trauma, pain, even sexual molestation, things like that? Why would they do all those things if they know that the outcome of that could be us experiencing the polar opposite on the other side? So what these beings have done and are doing is kind of creating a grid work around our planet. They're protecting us from certain invasions. They're protecting us from certain things that could wipe us out. They're protecting us from ourselves when we take ourselves to the brink of devastation and disaster, whether it's the fact that we should have all been dead by nuclear fallout many, many times by now, but the nuclear codes have been scrambled, whether the fact that our water should really not be able to drink at all because we screwed it up and they're helping us out with our water all the time, whether the fact that we could have taken our planet to the brink of poisoning it, but there is some sort of energy helping clear it, or that there is a field around our planet protecting us from asteroids, that there's this grid that has been put there, or even the fact that the moon has been put there and could have been put there by extraterrestrial races. So on the grand scheme of it all, the bigger picture of it all, the womb of Earth is being protected by these extraterrestrials, where a lot of gross experiences that could really interfere and mess with humanity are not being allowed to happen because these benevolent ETs are assisting us. And then also they're giving us downloads. All these downloads is information, this conscious awareness, my information about creating Portal to Ascension are different downloads and awakenings and remembrance that we're receiving from these extraterrestrials. So that's some of the reasons why they're helping us. There's many, 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 many more.
let's see. We have 3 more minutes. So what is our dormant DNA?
So some people say that we have 12 strands of DNA, and obviously we only talk about 2 strands of DNA in mainstream science. So even mainstream scientists admit that we have other strands of DNA. They don't really talk about the amount of strands. And they call it junk DNA. So our dormant DNA is what has been called junk DNA, and what mainstream scientists are trying to tell us is that we have 2 strands of DNA that we need. The rest of it's just crap that just was put there that doesn't even get utilized at all. But that is actually the dormant DNA that needs to be reawakened. Our ancestors in the different levels of consciousness that we've been on this planet, we've had different strands of DNA open. The reason why it's 12 strands is because it's 12th dimensional. Each of those strands of DNA allows us to tap into different dimensions of existence. So you hear DNA activation codes, you see those frequencies online, people talking about activating dormant DNA. Some people say that the crystalline children are being born and the DNA is already being activated. But yes, our dormant DNA is DNA that is not activated right now, and we're moving into a reality, whether it's in 5 years or 500 years from now, where all of our DNA will be activated, allowing us to tap into different dimensions of awareness while still existing in this physical body in this planet.
Nice. So we have 2 more minutes before we go to break. Can you tell us more about sacred activations?
Yeah, well, that'll take a little while. How about I do a little... Do you want me to do a little poem before we go to the break, and then we can talk about that when we come back?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, so I'll do this one real quick. It's called Atlantis. So are we one yet? Going back to source. No remorse when reinforce the course that we all endorse. Unconditional love, the highest vibration, a gift from above. Desolation or separation, we must be the ones to say this is enough. You see, the 3rd dimension was meant to be tough. There is no captivity, so unlock the cuffs, move away from hate and begin to trust. No more anger or lust. Our thought shifts the earth's crust into straight axis. Just like in Atlantis, stop causing damage and learn to manage self-realization. When people start to vanish when we change our intentions and join the like-minded souls in the 5th dimension. This is the beginning of our oversoul mission. What is it that you envision for the future incarnations? The Christ consciousness has arisen. Tear the perception of being in a prison, this industrial system, slumber of opposites. Duality where we get lost and forget how to circumvent and achieve liberation. The curiosity won't last for long at all. As you move the aquatic age, break free from the 3rd dimensional cage of limitations, Freemasons being misplaced in this illusionary reality. Governing authorities, there will be no more war. Co-create a love ambassador, open the doors. Life isn't supposed to be a chore. No getting on your knees worshiping entities from the floor. The message is simple, man. We don't need to know anymore. We are the ones that we've been waiting for.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And on that note, we're going to go to break. We'll be back for a 3rd hour with call-ins and some more questions for our guest, Neil Gaur. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. It's hour number 3 of Spaced Out Sunday with host Tessa Nicole Thomas. Follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now back to the Rocky Mountains. Here's Tessa.
Hey guys, welcome back, and it's third hour, and you know what that means. We have call-ins, and so if you'd like to call in, our phone number is 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596, and you can call in with your questions and comments. Welcome back, Neil. It's so nice to have you on the show tonight.
Awesome, thank you.
So our first caller comes from area code 832. Who are we speaking with?
Crystal.
Hi, Crystal. How's it going?
Good.
So did you have a question or comment for our guest, Neil, tonight?
Yes, I loved listening to the show. It was so good.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. It was we think you should come back again.
Indeed.
Yeah. It's like with people like him and other people like him. That's why I was in the chat room tonight to listen in and see what I was like. It said excuse me 1 minute. It said the date was the 18th, but it's not. It's the 7th.
Oh yeah, it's not the 18th. It's October 5th, 6th, and 7th. 2018.
Oh.
Mhm.
Because the thing on the when I clicked on it, it said the 18th, and I was like today's the 8th.
Yeah, on the
go ahead.
It says September 8th /18. So I saw that too, and it looked kind of confusing for a minute, and then I saw the 8 in there, so it can kind of throw you off if you're not looking at it correctly. But I'm so glad you are listening tonight and that you called in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just you're welcome. I'm trying to call in to give you guys some probably how I have a question. How do can I talk to you, Tess, tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely give you a call on Facebook Messenger, and we'll talk tomorrow about more stuff. But I just
because it's kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely call you tomorrow. But thank you so much for calling in, Crystal. It was so nice to hear from you.
Thank you. I was just trying to call in tonight because I was was like, I need to call in to see what he's about and get some feedback and give you guys some feedback because all of us don't do this for we don't do this for the money.
That's right.
We do this for we do this for the like for instance
to help each other and raise each other up for sure.
Yeah.
Like for JGS, we're doing this to get so we're not having to worry about all chronic pain, chronic pain that we're dealing with, and that's why I'm in that group, and that's why I listen to you. That's why I try to listen. That's why I kind of stopped and listened to you before I went to bed tonight because
Awesome.
I was like,
Well,
I need to.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for calling in, and
Okay,
definitely
thank
reach
you.
out to us again and connect with us on our website. Take a look at portaltoascension.org. And for everyone out there, go to our website, portaltoascension.org, and sign up there. Our website's kind of like a Netflix for consciousness where you can sign up, you get login information, and you have hundreds of hours of presentation there. So please also stay connected to us. All right, Crystal?
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
night, Crystal. It's so good to hear from you. Yeah, our Crystal, she actually has hydrocephalus. I believe that is where there's water on the brain, and she was born with that. And so sometimes it takes her a bit to get her words out, but she's a very awesome
I
spirit.
appreciate her calling in for sure.
And a wonderful person. Thank you so much, Crystal, for calling in. It was so great hearing from you. Well, until we get another caller, and I'll just remind everyone of our number. It's 970-335-9596, and you can call in with your questions or comments. But until then, I wanted to move on to our next question, which is, can you tell us more about sacred activations?
Yeah, so sacred activations, it's just such a wide range of topics, things that kind of go within that. So you can say a sacred activation is like your own activation every day, whether you're doing a little ritual for yourself that activates you to be more empowered and live a more harmonious life, or then there's individuals that do sacred activations like cacao ceremonies that are specific activations that are supposed to open you up to different levels of consciousness or crack open your heart. And then there's sacred activations that are ceremonies that include plant medicines that are ancient. So these sacred activations all have the same kind of thing in mind, which is to basically shift us and allow us to step into a more authentic version of ourselves. So the reason why we do sacred activations is to kind of clear the energy and to really step into the real purpose of why we're here and awaken us, and definitely exactly what it says, or to activate us. We need to be activated. Humanity has been dormant for a long time, and we're all being activated now. So we're going to see many forms of sacred activations that are going to be happening across the planet, depending on the individual and their unique experience, in order for us to really wake up and activate ourselves so that we can be the light workers and the way showers on the planet.
So what happens to our animals during ascension timelines?
There's a lot of information out and different speculation based on that. I don't specifically know exactly, but I do know what has been shared. Some people say that animals are evolving to another level of consciousness, or their souls are going to be able to incarnate as humans now and have more of a free will experience. For example, people talking about dogs and how dogs, when they reincarnate, dogs are now going to come back as the new humans and the children of the next dimension. This is all speculation. There are many individuals who have had channeling experiences where they've downloaded what they think are going to happen to animals. I feel that animals that existed and exist that we do not currently see are going to start manifesting in a higher vibratory level, because For example, the elemental kingdom is merging with our kingdom right now. There was a time where the elemental kingdom and our dimension coexisted with each other. And that's why you have all those stories of the medieval times and the elementals and how they were fighting against them. And even Shrek is like a good example of the elementals being cast away to the woods, and ultimately the elementals went into their own reality. And now we're going into a world where we're going to start seeing them. And do you mind saying your question one more time so I can get back to the point?
What happens to our animals during ascension timelines?
So there are animals that exist there, that such as unicorns and other mythological creatures that we'll also see. I feel that some of these species that exist now will probably not exist in a higher dimensional reality, because those are species that are designed for this lower dimensional parasitical nature. There's a lot of parasitical entities on this planet. We may live in a reality where there's less parasitical kind of creatures out there. But what's going to really happen is more about what's going to happen to the animals, is what's going to happen with our communication with the animals. We're going to be able to feel them more, be able to communicate with them, whether it's energetically, intuitively, or actually physical communication telepathically. So our animals are going to become what they're always supposed to be, which are the spirit guides. We're going to live with other animals on the planet. We're going to feel more connected to them. We're going to treat them better. We will eventually live in a world where we probably won't even eat animal, and will respect ourselves as well as the animal kingdom, and see the animals as part of the ecosystem of what makes this existence real to us, rather than look at them as some sort of resource that we can take advantage of.
So how does one navigate beyond the third dimension and anchor into the fifth dimensional realm? Do you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, well, we're all doing it now anyway. It's kind of a twofold thing, because no matter what, we're evolving, we're ascending. It's prophesized. The end of the Bronze Age is over. The end of the Dark Age is over. We're going into the Bronze Age. We're going to eventually be in the Golden Age. So no matter what is happening, we are ascending. How do we anchor into that? Is about how grounded you are in this reality. It's not about becoming etheric and getting so higher dimensional that you forget that you are a human existing on this planet. How you ground into that is you know the spiritual awareness, but you stay connected to the earth. You keep it real. You stay grounded. You connect with the Mother Earth. And through that, you anchor in the energy that's coming in, because there's a downpour of source energy and waves and frequencies that are higher vibratory and etheric, because we're in the photon belt right now. We're diving in the photon belt in this moment, in this center of the Milky Way galaxy, extremely high concentration of ether. The vibration of the planet has no choice but to increase and shift. So it's happening. The thing is downloading. How you choose to perceive it, how you choose to implement it, how crazy you want to experience it is completely your own free will. Whether part of this evolution of consciousness is the monetary system collapsing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I lost my bank account, I lost who I am, I was the stockbroker, and now I'm nothing. That's your level of consciousness. Whether you see the bigger picture and you realize that these are all just constructs and none of this really matters, and you go back to what really matters, that's more how you'd probably want to be in order to ground in the energies and usher in the new dimension. You can go kicking and screaming, or you can go peacefully. It's going to happen no matter what. Yeah, Vimanas are definitely real. The Rig Veda, which is the oldest scripture, predates Hindu scriptures, because the Rig Veda was one of 4 Vedas that was created. The Ayurveda was one of the other Vedas. The Ayurveda has all the medicine and how to cure all diseases, past, present, and future. And in the Rig Veda is where they have the Vimana. But the Vimana isn't just a picture of a Vimana. It has almost blueprints on how to create this thing. It even has equations, fractions, dimensions of how to create it. Even there's immense amounts of evidence that Hitler was connected to the Vimana information and was attempting to create a Vimana, and the Nazi Bell, which was his first try at the UFOs, was actually, he was utilizing Vimana, the scriptures on the Vimanas, to find out. He also went to Tibet and into India and was measuring the faces of individuals to find out if these individuals connected to the same scriptures or which speak about the Vimanas. So yes, the Vimanas are real. Now, how we know that even more is not only does this ancient scripture that predates Hinduism, which is one of the oldest religions that still currently exists on the planet, say this stuff, not only does it give it blueprints and look very scientific, but also if you read all the other scriptures and even the recent Hindu scriptures, you see all these flying craft that are flying in space. They all the mythological movies of Hindu scriptures and all the books talk about chariots, like almost like Roman golden chariots. However, if you read the scriptures in details, it talks about round cylindrical. So even though they show the chariots in the human depictions, right, the artist work, the actual text talks about round craft with lights all the way around the whole circumference of the craft shining, which sounds like a UFO, sounds like a Vimana. So definitely, I think the Vimana is true. And if you want to take it even deeper, I think the Krishna, Shiva, and all those beings were different extraterrestrial races as well.
And I'm sorry I was muted when I asked that question, and that was from Michael McNeil in SOR Space Travelers.
Okay.
I just wanted to give kudos to him. And then BTO is asking from Spreaker, is reincarnation a trapped prison within the matrix of this universe? If so, what do you both feel or think we can do to break out of the reincarnational cycle?
Yeah, do you want to answer that first?
Well, I think it all goes back to free agency, and we can choose to go to the light and recycle ourselves, or, I know of a bunch of ghosts or spirits that we come across that tend to like it where they're at, and they may not be ready for that next step. So I think it all comes down to free agency, and you decide where you go and what you will be doing. And I don't think you are stuck in that if you don't want to be.
Right. I feel similar to that we are, I don't like to call it a prison because it's not a prison at all. Even if you technically get stuck in a cycle for a few lives, it's still not a prison because on some level you're choosing that as well. So the illusion of not having choice is an illusion. So there are many dimensions of feeling that we don't have a choice to incarnate here. But if you go high up enough, you realize that it was all a choice from the beginning, So like there are different karmic cycles. There's a karmic cycle of Earth, like specifically of Earth, and then there's a karmic cycle of our solar system, and then there's one of our galaxy. So and there's probably ones in between it. So there's all these karmic cycles, and then there's cycles that are free of karma entirely. But I agree with you. I think we have more of a choice to jump from incarnation to incarnation, and sometimes we may make a contract with ourselves to stay within a cycle of karma for an extended period of time for multiple lives to work something out. And it might seem to us that we're stuck because it's been like 10 lives working something out, but ultimately we made that choice with ourselves before we even came here.
And that kind of goes back to like the soul contract or whatever. I've heard people talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about the 5th and 6th through 12th dimension?
Okay. So the something I like to talk about in regards to dimensions, I think is Barbara Messiniak. Yes. So she says that, okay, so we have 7 chakras in our human body. Each of those 7 chakras represent a dimension. When you open all 7 of them, you're opening 7 dimensions of awareness. Our physical body is able to activate and download 7 dimensions of awareness. It is said that from 0 or first dimension up until 7th dimension, we still exist within physical body. Right now, we exist purely physically. In the 5th dimension, we exist quasi-physically. Quasi-physically is basically half light and half human. Like we look now, but with probably flawless skin and radiant sun behind us. It's basically like a 5th dimensional body. That's why a lot of angels that are 5th dimensional, 6th dimensional, 7th dimensional look human, but just extremely bright, like there's a sun radiating behind them. The 6th dimension, you become more light. 7th dimension, you're even more of that. And in the 8th dimension, you become pure energy. Now, let me add the disclaimer here that there's many people that will probably give you a different take on dimensions. This is from researching a lot of different individuals and perspectives. And this is my own consensus. This is also kind of a similar breakdown to what the Pleiadians say exists, and also ancient Indian scriptures. So then we go into the 7th and 8th dimension. So the 7th dimension, we're physical. That's why we have 7 chakras, and that's why all 7 chakras exist within our body. The 8th chakra, we're also connected to too. The 8th chakra is just a little bit like a foot or two above our head. It's the astral chakra. So the 8th chakra takes us into the astral realm of pure energy. And then you go into the 9th, the 11th, and the 12th pure energy realms. And it's been said that the 8th and the 9th dimension are pure energy still existing in a physical universe. But when you get to like 10 and beyond, you're existing in this universe, but you're pure energy with the universe. You're not like energy that exists on a planet that exists within a universe. You're just the energy of the universe. Then ultimately, the 13th dimension is the void in the center of our galaxy, which is the black hole, the center of all the galaxies. So you go up 12 dimensions, you have all these experiences of physicality, then you become quasi-physical, then you become pure energy within the physical universe, then you just become pure energy, and then ultimately you just go back into the center of the galaxy. And then you get recycled and it starts all over again. But you have the choice whether to come back into this galactic karmic cycle or go to another karmic cycle. It's like a game, like a video game, and all of a sudden you've completed a level and you can choose to do that level all over again, or you can choose to go somewhere else and do it. And almost every kind of karmic incarnatory cycle is similar to that. So I feel how this manifests is that the center of our galaxy is a huge supermassive black hole. The black hole at the center of a galaxy is dormant for quite some time. It doesn't do anything. It just sits. Then all of a sudden it just activates and it starts sucking everything in. So what happens is when it's dormant, at times it becomes a white hole. A white hole is the opposite of a black hole. A white hole spews out energy. A black hole takes energy in. Scientists have agreed that white holes must exist, and they must be in the depths of space or in places that they haven't found yet, just for the fact that black holes exist. And we're finding out now that black holes that are supposedly taking all light and light cannot escape also emanate and spew out beams of light, and NASA has been dropping this information recently, talking about this happening. So what happens is the black hole in the center of our galaxy becomes a white hole, and energy from the 13th dimension, from the void in the center of the galaxy, gets spewed out and gets sent like an infinity spiral to the ends of our galaxy where we are. Then the black hole in the center of the galaxy starts sucking everything. Everything goes closer and closer and closer. The closer you get to the center of the galaxy, the higher the frequency of the entire solar system and the planets that you're on become, because the gravitational pull from the black hole is so intense that, of course, the closer you get to it, the more you're vibrating. So the closer you get to the galaxy, the higher in dimension your planet gets, because the higher the vibration of the planet. So the reason why we're right at the end of our galaxy and we exist in the dimension 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are the lowest dimensions, is because we're all the way at the end of the galaxy. What is supposed to happen is that over millennia and millennia, we slowly get drawn in closer and closer and closer and closer to the center of the galaxy through the black hole sucking us towards the center of it. And when that happens, the frequency increases until eventually we get to the center of our galaxy and become 12th dimensional beings, and we become the Lyrians that originally created us in the first place. That's the cycle of we become our ancestors is what's supposed to happen. And then when that happens, we go eventually back into the black hole in the center, and then we do something else, or we do the same thing all over again. That's my take on it.
BTO is asking, are black holes and entrance and exit place to enter and or exit this universe?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. In regards to white holes and black holes, that's kind of with the matter element, sucking matter in, spewing matter out. But yeah, black holes are rips in space-time. They go to somewhere else. All black holes are white holes in some other universe or galaxy. Not only can a black hole... See, no one's gone through a black hole yet, so they don't know. We just know that this is probably the case. There are many different types of black holes. There's a black hole that's just a small black hole that could be right next to our planet right now, and we cannot even know it, but it's spewing a little energy. There's really big black holes inside solar systems, some in between galaxies. There's super, super, super massive black holes in the center of our galaxies. Do they all have the same components that if we went through one of them with a force field, we would come out to a different dimension? Do some of them just take us to a different place in the same universe, and do others of them take us to different galaxies? For example, maybe the supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy is a rip in space-time in which when we go through it, we come out of another galaxy within our same exact universe, and maybe the black holes that are in between our galaxies just randomly laying out there, or suns that have become black holes, could be portals into parallel realities. We don't know yet, but there is a chance that there are some people that know, because the secret space program and different technologies that they've had, I'm sure they've done things that we can't even fathom right now, but it's not widely spread of what the exact thing is. But we have now proven scientifically that black holes are holes in space-time. Where the holes go, we don't know.
So going on to my next question, what exactly is the 5D paradigm?
So 5D is fifth dimensional reality, which is fourth density. We currently exist in the third dimension, third density, which is the fourth dimension. So in four dimensions, so we don't exist in the third dimension like everybody tells you. We exist in the fourth dimension and the third dimension. The fourth dimension is time. There's three dimensions and then there's time. So in the fourth dimensional reality that we currently exist in, there's two dimensions of space and there's two dimensions of time. In two dimensions of time, you have a beginning and an end. It's linearity. So we're in linearity. When you get to the fifth dimension, you still have two dimensions of space. So space externally looks very similar to the way space looks right now to us, even though we're able to do different things. But because you have five dimensions, you now have another point in time. So instead of having 2 points in time, you have 3 points in time. So time no longer becomes linear. Time has 3 points and kind of becomes a triangle. Or some people call it, even say it's secular, where time becomes more fluid. So what the fifth dimensional reality is two things. In a fifth dimensional reality, the frequencies are different. Many frequencies that exist on this planet won't be able to exist in that reality. Lower vibrational frequencies such as lust, hate, anger, greed, things that are really just keeping us down and out, won't be able to exist. Duality will still exist, but not at the level that it is now with all the hardships, the killing, the wars, and all that stuff. It will be more of a challenge-based reality. So the first component is the kind of emotions, the kind of harmony, the kind of feedback we get from each other is going to be at a higher level. And the second component is there will be three dimensions of time, meaning that everything will be more fluid. Time won't be the way it is now. Aging won't be the way it is now. People won't die the same way they do now. People won't be born the same way they're born now. And our concept of reality and time won't be beginning and end anymore. That's just some of it. There's a lot of people you can talk probably for weeks and do a whole entire week-long retreat on how the fifth dimension will look, but that's kind of like the bottom line of it, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. So how does one shift their consciousness to obtain the ascension process?
Well, if you're asking that question, chances are you don't need to ask that question because you're probably ahead of the curve, right? Because if you're literally asking that, because imagine how many people on the planet that aren't even asking that, aren't even thinking that right now, and a good percentage of those people are going to ascend. They are ascending. Let's not say about anything in the future. Good amount of those people are going to be with us in the future. So if you're this person asking this question right now, and there's people that aren't even asking it, but they're going to be in this reality with us, then obviously you're probably on the right path. And the whole concept of what do we need to do to ascend, one of the things is really let go of the need to ascend. That's literally the best way to do it, and just live in the moment now. Treat yourself with love and respect and treat others. There's so many different tools out there, whether you're doing sound healing once a day or once a week even, in order to set yourself in a non-reactory state so you can be more at peace with yourself and others. All you got to do is just find that inner peace. All you got to do is just put that inner peace out to the rest of the world, and you're creating that reality that you want to be in.
And what are the universal laws?
So the universal laws, there's probably a few of them, and there's probably a few that I don't know, but I would say one of the universal laws will be the law of free will. But there's universal laws for different levels of consciousness and different universes and different dimensions. So there's a universal law that transcends space and time and exists no matter what, but then there's universal laws that only exist for our reality. So one of the universal laws for our reality would be free will. that we're allowed to have that free range and make those decisions ourselves. Another universal law would probably be, I would say, love, that all things are love and everything is interconnected. That's a universal law. So I've done some writings in the past on different types of universal laws, but when I look at, for example, religious scriptures and I see a lot of things that are causing hate and anger and separation, or this person's like this, treat this person this way, or they're not like us, I feel those are the concepts that have been added scriptures that are man-made. When you look at the laws that talk about unity, talk about connection, consciousness, talk about where we came from and how we can all be empowered, every single individual on the planet, I would say that would be a universal law.
Let me unmute myself. Don was asking, what dimension do we have to be on to control time, move back and forth?
I would say in the next dimension that we're going to, the fifth dimension, time travel. I don't even really like saying the word time travel without really explaining it in depth, because I think people get taken aback from just the concept of it. But time travel isn't what we've been shown in movies. It's very diverse. And so I would say the next dimension, because we exist in linearity right now. So in linearity, you have no choice. You have no choice. It's beginning and ending. It's going to end. In the fifth dimension, you have more of a choice. And things will eventually get to that third point. But how it gets there, how long it gets there, will all be based on choice. So I say the next dimension would be the dimension where we do that. And to add to that, the whole concept of the Mayans and the end of the world in 2012. A lot of people were saying that it would be the end of the world. This is the reason why they were saying that. It's not because the Mayan calendar ended. It's because there was a scripture that accompanied the Mayan calendar in which they said the end of the calendar represents the end of ages. That's what they said. So what they thought was that, oh my God, it's the end of ages, it's the end of the world. But what it really meant is it's the end of an age, but it also meant the end of aging. It was the end of the ages that we've had, and all the different ages and the different dimensions and the hierarchy of it all and the linearity of another age. It's the end of the ages. So what the Mayans were prophesizing about 2012 is after that date, we're going to get into a level where we don't have these eons anymore, these ages anymore. We don't age the same way anymore. So I feel that after 2012, we've kind of started stepping into that reality, but it hasn't really grounded yet. And now we're grounding it in. And just like we're proving through the laws of quantum physics and through the law of attraction, that the way things manifest is first through a thought. So through our collective thoughts, we've created this reality. And thought manifests action, action manifests reality. That's the law of attraction. When we get to this new world, thought will equal reality more quicker than it does now. So what needs to happen is we need to all be thinking fifth dimensionally. The more people that think fifth dimensionally, that's when the external reality will start manifesting fifth dimensionally. So that's why we have Portal to Ascension, because really the trick is to convince the heart and the mind of this reality. And once that heart and mind believes it, and more of us believe it, we'll all be emanating the same frequency of what we want, and then the world will just have no choice but to reflect that for us.
And she kind of added to that, saying, so once the third point is added, we can control it?
I wouldn't use the word control. I wouldn't even use the word manipulate, but I would say we could ride it. We can marry it. We can be a friend to it. We're not a victim to it.
Good answer. Mm-hmm. So, how exactly are we supposed to help shift humanity?
So we have to, the way we help shift humanity is by, as cliche as it sounds, is by shifting ourselves. It really is. The way we help humanity is by helping ourselves. You can speak your truth always and not have expectation. If you want to talk about how to really shift humanity, then do the inner work. Don't react to people. Love yourself. Love others. Have perspective for others. If you want to talk about shifting people in the external world, tell people everything that you know about this stuff. However, don't have the expectation. If you really want to shift people, You can't tell people and have an expectation, because then you're doing the opposite of what you want to create. You're not even putting the energy out of the right intention. You're violating people's free will. What you can do is you could provide information. For example, sit down with someone talking about UFOs and what happened with Tom DeLonge, and then after I'm done with it, if they choose to accept it or not, I'm not going to try to push it down their throat. So externally, provide information, don't have expectation, and don't be disappointed if people aren't open to receive it, because we're all at our own levels of consciousness, and there is no level of consciousness that's better than the other one. There isn't any. They're all playing the role perfectly. Whether it's like a demonic kind of entity that has been created and is now giving me the contrast so that eventually I become even more into consciousness, right? Like, I've gone through some crap. Like, I've been through some crazy things in my life that has really affected me in a negative way that you would think is kind of somebody that has been demonic onto me or really negative or evil. But because of that, I'm doing what I'm doing now. So what is good and what is bad?
Yeah, and I think it's so important to, even though they're not ready to accept it at some points, it's important to share that information because, you know, people retain that stuff, and maybe someday they'll come to that point where they're like, oh yeah, well, what Neil was saying totally makes sense right now, and it really helps me in my life, and I'm able to move to this higher ground. So it's so important to just share that information with everyone.
Right. You just gotta drop seeds, you know? And there was a time where there was a time when I first started, and I was a person that would say things with the expectation, like 2000 to 2008, like, oh, ET is this, blah, 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 you got to listen to me. And then then I went through, I'm not going to tell anybody anything, and I'm just going to do my stuff, and people can just figure it out on their own. But then 2 years ago or so, I was like, no holding back. Like, everybody on the planet needs to know this information. Everyone can benefit from being positive and uplifted and realizing who they are. So now I'm at the level where I've kind of got both of them. Like, I'm 100% telling everybody everything, but I'm 100% not really minding or expecting them to do anything with it. You just gotta live your fun. I mean, like, we're one of the biggest pioneers for this information on the planet, but it's 100% fun for me. I'm just enjoying myself, you know? And in consequence of that is that we're awakening humanity.
Yeah, and it's super important to enjoy what you're doing, especially when you're sharing that information. So how does one align themselves with pure source consciousness?
There's many different ways. You can do whatever is good for you. Like, there is no one way. There is, for me, that gives me the sense of clarity and clears my mind is sound healing, Tibetan bowls, didgeridoos, tuning forks. We have forks on the table every now and then, every other day or so. I pick one up, listen to it. It helps set that frequency in my brain, helps me connect. Whether you are so busy and you need 2 minutes out of the day where you need to step outside and just breathe and not even thinking about anything but just your breath. Or if you have the intention in your head to connect to source, your intention goes a long way. What you envision and what you say to yourself actually creates a reality for yourself. So if you want to connect to source, just do it, you know? And there is no right or wrong way. Just, I would say, connect to source and just don't judge yourself for the way you do it. You know, like, it doesn't matter how it's done, because the issue people have, and the reason why a lot of people ask, how do I connect to source, is because when they're doing it, they're thinking they're not doing it right, so they're already putting that doubt in their head that's not really creating that connection. So you need to be like, hey, I'm just going to blabber about some stuff right now and just say source at the end of it, and I'm doing it, you know? You just got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. It's insane.
So Neil, do you have any idea what the sacred contract of animals is?
I can't answer that at this point. I have delved into that before, but I don't know what their sacred contracts are because there's so many of them, you know? Like, you could say that the sacred contract of dogs is just to be here and give us the companionship, and then you could say that the sacred... what I will say on that is kind of a side note on that, but kind of connects to it, is that a lot of animals, obviously, if you look up the spiritual meaning of animals, you can see what their purposes are. So when you see a lot of animals, I would say that their sacred contract would be whatever their purpose is. Like, for example, I think a lizard has to do with something with monetary abundance, right? Seeing many lizards around. And then seeing a lot of cockroaches has to do with the dark night of the soul and the dark self and the shadow self being reflected. So I would say that my opinion is that the agreements of animals are not only to have their own ecosystem and live out their own karma and live out their own whatever as their souls that they are, but also to give us that contrast and that reflection of the symbols of what they represent. And if we were to follow the symbols, this goes back to what we talked about. We can create a textbook for humanity. If we were to follow the symbols and it was taught in an educational system what kind of animals mean what, and us seeing those animals and even choosing them to be our companions, what it represents for us, we could start being more intentional with our choices.
Awesome. Well, I have one more question for you, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble with any of your speakers.
Oh, yeah.
But thus far, who is your favorite speaker or theory from Portal to Ascension been?
Oh, man. We work with so many people and so many topics. I would say... okay. I would say I love Michael Tellinger because we do a lot of work with him, and his information is really full circle. So it's not about who's a better speaker. It's the fact that his information encompasses sound, frequency, ancient history, money-free society, change the political movement, creating a movement behind him in order to create sustainable communities, bringing forward free energy devices, talking about ancient aliens and the gods and how that connects to how these civilizations used to exist politically. It's really, really, really full circle, so much so that he's created a movement behind the fact that he's a researcher on ancient history, right? So I admire that. And I would say I also admire Stephen Greer because he's just like, he's the amount of information he puts out, and we've produced all of his events for the last 6 years, and really they're groundbreaking. The last one we did was an expose on unacknowledged technologies and underground bases, where we did a 4-hour expose announcing and releasing every underground base in the U.S. and what they have going on there, so many of which that had never been released before, and then also talking about technologies that have been used and are coming out right now. So that kind of stuff really intrigues me. I'm really into the science. I'm also into quantum physics and vibration and frequency. So any of the individuals on our platform that incorporates explaining things through science, I love, because part of why we exist is not just to preach to the choir, but to teach the linear-minded individuals that aren't in the know that the fact that this is happening. And the best way to do that is to come through science. So there is now scientific evidence of our ancient civilizations, scientific evidence of frequencies and consciousness and how spirituality is real, and scientific evidence that we're all ascending. So I like that kind of information. And honestly, I am the only one on the platform that has actually created events and workshops specifically to prove through science. We've done a Science of Ascension conference, which is great. If you guys want to check it out, portaltoascension.org, Science of Ascension conference, extremely good. 8-hour event with 5 speakers, all on the science behind the fact that we're ascending. But I've done 3 webinars on our platform too, 100% about the science behind the fact we're ascending, but relating it to sound healing and ancient history. So those are some people. And then I'll list a few other people. I like Grant Cameron a lot. He's a really good friend. Alan Steinfeld, he doesn't really do presentations. He MCs a lot. He's one of our biggest cheerleaders, if I can call him that, for our platform. Like, he's literally like backs us up on everything and loves what we do, and I have a lot of respect for him because he's been doing this forever. And then Trisha McCandon is one of my good friends and a great speaker as well, because she provides a wide range of information. Literally, like every single topic we spoke about today, she has a workshop on. Like everything. So we do an event with her every 2 to 3 months for the last 3 years. So we have a lot of stuff on her, whether it's the last years of Jesus Christ, to UFO Disclosure, to the worldwide pyramid culture. So a lot of information there. And then I just got to add, of course, every person on my platform is amazing because we vet these people out hardcore. Like my wife either looks through the videos, or I've had like an 8 to 10 year history with them. We've maintained relationships and friendships with all these speakers. We work with over 200 speakers, the biggest archaeologists, quantum physicists, government whistleblowers, conscious presenters in the world. And it's really about the rule of thumb that we have. We have one rule of thumb. in this world of so much information, disinformation, it's extremely difficult to know what's real and what's not, because so many people are putting out all this information, especially when it comes to disclosing hidden truths, like ancient history and ETs and government conspiracies. So the rule of thumb that I can really base everything on is, are you empowering humanity or are you disempowering humanity? Are you trying to install fear that we're all kind of we're all basically down out of luck, you know, or are you attempting to empower us and show us how we can create a new reality? So that's the rule of thumb that we have on our platform, and it's actually been pretty awesome, because one of the number one questions I get is, how do I choose my speakers? And people ask that because of how much disinformation is out there and how much contradiction there is. Even some of our speakers contradict each other, because we are a non-biased platform for conscious awareness, with the only rule of thumb is, are you empowering or disempowering? And since we're a non-biased platform, there's going to be people that don't agree with each other. And the cool thing is, people that don't agree with each other, that normally don't talk to each other, or maybe have little issues or concerns about each other's information, we create a platform for them to discuss their information on the same exact event. So we're we're talking about the contrast. We're having these debates. We're opening it up to people having different opinions, and then we're coming up with a consensus and letting people make their own decisions.
Awesome. So do you have anything else that I might not have covered that you think that our listeners should know?
I'll tell you guys about the long-term mission of Portal to Ascension. That when I first got the download to do Portal to Ascension, like in around 2008, when it actually became Portal to Ascension, I had the whole entire vision at once. And the vision was that, I'm going to create these small events. I'm going to create this event production company. I didn't know it was going to become an online university as big as it was now. I just knew it was going to be events, and they were going to get bigger and bigger. But then the goal was that eventually we're going to be bringing in enough income that we can start buying land worldwide and create communities and create contact centers where people are doing different work on contact extraterrestrials, eventually opening up to creating actual communities for open contact and landing with extraterrestrials. So we literally started with this small meditation events, all-day conferences, now an event production company, online university, and everything that we're getting is moving towards us creating land and creating communities, sustainable homes, using the new homes that for $2,000 to $3,000 you can create homes that are completely withstand all types of weather all over the world, build beautiful communities for really cheap, full of abundance. So that's where we're going to eventually go within the next 10 years or so, because that's where the world is heading. We really need that kind of thing. So right now we're creating a platform for information that will soon eventually start creating these in places worldwide. And our goal is to bridge into every industry. We've created a university of consciousness for this new dimension, for this new world. We're also going into entertainment. We're creating documentaries right now as we speak. We got 4 or 5 of them coming out this year, mini documentaries and 2 full feature documentaries. We have Ascension Records, which is a record label for conscious musicians, and where we have people that are extremely intentional, whether it's frequencies in the music or the words that they're speaking is about the ascension or extraterrestrials or anything within that platform. And then we also have conscious live streams, where we offer live stream services to events that are about empowering humanity and conscious events. So our vision is to really bridge into all these industries and create this huge company that is, completely self-funded by the users that are actually buying tickets, so that we can start putting ourselves in all these different industries. Because a lot of these industries aren't going to just collapse. We're not going to go into an ascended world and all of a sudden there's no documentaries and no films and no movies and no whatever. These industries are still going to exist, but they're going to become conscious. So what we're doing now is we're going into those industries right now at the base of it all, at the beginning of it all, and starting to create our foundation in them, so that within a few years from now we'll have the team, the support, and we'll have the capacity to have more impact.
Well, we have about 5 more minutes left on the show, and I'm actually intrigued by the whole Atlantis thing. What have you learned about the ins and outs of that?
So it looks like Atlantis... I always like to put the different perspectives forward before I say my perspective, just to let you know that, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't believe that, it's this. So the consensus looks like Atlantis was maybe in its last days around 13,000 years ago, right before ancient Egypt was created. Because we go to 26,000 years of 26,000 year cycles of consciousness, and the zodiacs and the skies are the same throughout those times, we're going based back on astrological alignments. So when we look at Atlantis and all those things, we go back on astrological alignments. So the last time that astrological alignment happened was around 13,000 years ago. However, the last time before that was 26,000 years before that, 26,000 years before that. So you can go back and say, oh yeah, Atlantis was actually 26,000 year cycles ago plus 13,000. You can say that if you want, right? Or you can go with what most people are saying, which is it's around 13,000 years ago. All religious ancient scriptures in the world talk about a deluge, a great flood. The Bible talks about the Noah's flood, the Epic of Gilgamesh in the Sumerian text, which is actually talking about extraterrestrial hybrid. That is what the Noah story came from. And all these stories are talking about pre-deluge and post-deluge, even in the Hindu scriptures. Then around 13,000 years ago, there was an ice age on the planet. Atlantis seemed to have existed around that time and had fallen in 3 stages. Atlantis existed, and over a period of 1,000 years or so, there was different cataclysmic occurrences, one of which was definitely a meteorite that occurred where different parts of Atlantis were sinking until eventually the third part of Atlantis sank around 13,000 years ago. But what happened was when the meteorite hit the Earth, it created a mass flooding because of mass melting of all the ice on Earth. It was the end of the ice age. The meteorite actually ended the ice age. And when that happened was the Great Flood, Noah's flood. The rest of Atlantis was completely wiped out. However, while that was happening, since a lot of people think Atlantis went down in one go and not too many people survived, but Atlantis took a long time to go out. Plus, the level of consciousness was higher than the level of consciousness we are now, where a lot of people knew this was going to happen. Some people stayed behind, some people went down with Atlantis, but a lot of individuals escaped. They went to different sacred sites around the world. A lot of places that pyramids exist now were actually the first descendants of Atlantis, whether it's the Mayan culture or the Egyptian culture. However, Egypt was the first creation after Atlantis. While Atlantis was falling, and it's in the last days, Egypt was already being created around 9,600 BC, and the Atlanteans were taking their information there and their wisdom there. Atlantis fell, and the Ice Age hit, and Egypt was growing in power and population. The Sphinx was around 9,600 BC, which is literally within 100 years after technically the whole of Atlantis had fallen, if not coinciding actually at the same time of Atlantis. So when Egypt was created, we'd already devolved in a little bit in consciousness. In the time of Atlantis, the axis of the Earth was completely straight. What happens is when you're in a straight axis, we're also existing fifth dimensionally in Atlantis. When you're in a straight axis, the weather on the planet is the exact same. There's no seasons. So the weather of the planet was really harmonious, like 75-degree weather, really nice, not too many storms, not too craziness or anything. And I heard you say something. Do you want to interject for a second?
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
Okay, cool. So I think we're done in 4 minutes, so I'll wrap this up in 1 minute, and then we can close out if you like. So okay, so we fell from the fifth dimension to the third, fourth dimension because the meteorite literally hit us out of our axis where we were literally in fifth dimensional paradise with perfect weather around the planet. The seasons began at that point. Some even say that the moon was implemented and put there at that point because it needed to hold us in the axis that we had fallen into. So even though we had all this information and wisdom and we'd just come out of Atlantis into Egypt, we weren't able to do the same things we were able to do in Egypt because we no longer existed in that higher dimension. So the Egyptians, they started creating technology, external technology, to keep the vibration of the planet at a higher level. They created the Ankh, which was a primordial tool for frequency and vibration that could heal and also help them connect to different levels of consciousness. They created pyramids. They created pyramids as energy devices that would cultivate the natural ley line energy and the Schumann resonance of the planet that would emanate a higher frequency that would keep the level of the planet at this frequency and the vibration so it wouldn't fall down. However, they couldn't keep that going on for more than a couple thousand years because humanity was going into the dark age and we were falling into the dark age. The frequency was getting so low that the technology that was keeping us at this higher level could no longer exist and work at this level of frequency that the planet was. Then they overpowered and got destroyed. Brian Forrester shows videos of the Great Pyramids in Giza Plateau with huge lightning bolt marks inside because it looks like they overpowered and exploded quite a few thousand years ago. So that's kind of like from Atlantis to Egypt, and then from there, the Egyptian information they took the Atlantean information all over the world, and the mystery schools in Egypt were the mystery schools of the information that was the advanced technology and awareness that was shared in Atlantis. And that's kind of my understanding of it.
That's awesome. Well, would you like to share your website once more with our listeners so they can find you and ask you any questions they may see fit?
Yeah, sure. So our conference website is ascensionconference.com, ascensionconference.com. But if you really want to do us a huge favor and go to Google and type in Portal to Ascension, go to our website, go to our YouTube, go to our Twitter, go to our Instagram, go to our Facebook, sign up on all of them. We got new content. Like, if you sign up on all of them, you'll be given amazing information and diverse information from many platforms. You won't regret it. But go to our website, portaltoascension.org, sign up. You'll receive an email with a login password. You'll get to go to our website, and via thumbnails and category selection, you'll have hundreds of hours of free presentations that we've done in the last 10 years, and you can also purchase webinars and watch it there. But we're basically like a video subscription for conscious presentations. Go to our website, portaltoascension.org, and sign up.
Thank you so much again, Neil, for being on the show. It was so great having you.
Thanks, Tessa. I really appreciate you.
And thank you to everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else you may be listening in the universe tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow for Psychic Sundays on spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we own the night. Until next time, nighty night, love and light to all my space cases out there. You guys have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. Take care.